Peggy 16.
One of our first ever looks at XDefiant. First kill of choice, found a second as well.
I got three. I got
Pac-Man lights him up again. How the hell does he get sent to there? That is ridiculous. He is breaking ankles.
This is the XDefiant Game Showcase, and we are inside the Poker Go studio located at the Aria Casino and Resort Hotel in the heart of the beautiful, action-packed Las Vegas Strip. Hello everyone, and welcome to XDefiant's Game Showcase. My name is Katie Bedford, and I'm joined by XDefiant's executive producer, Mark Rubin. We are so excited about today's showcase, and as you can see behind me, the players warming up for the show match a little bit later, because we're going to talk about what the team at Ubisoft has been up to since XDefiant was announced all the way back in 2021. Now, Mark, I know you have to be so thrilled, right? Because the day has finally arrived.
Yes, thank you, Katie. Yes, I'm super excited that we are finally here in closed beta, and of course, in the studio with these guys. Also, I want to make sure people know that the NDA has been lifted for the closed beta. Okay. So that means players can post, stream, whatever they want. And I have to say, I'm super excited to see what people come up with.
I know there's a lot of creative people in the community, so I'm sure it's going to be great. But before we get to that, we got to talk about what exactly to expect in today's showcase. Coming up next, we're taking a deep dive into XDefiant and some of its most important features. This includes an overview of the game itself, details about factions and loadouts, the maps and modes the game has to offer, and then a look into XDefiant's seasonal roadmap. Following our deep dive, we will welcome in two very special casters, Ubershouts and I Hold Shift, to get us ready for the main event, which is a best of 7 series with some of the very best FPS players. Aches and Pac-Man will captain our two teams throughout. So as you've seen, we've got a lot to get through, but before the fun begins, I think we've got to talk a little bit more about XDefiant's closed beta.
Absolutely. So the closed beta is available for 10 days on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S, and we'll have full crossplay support. Now, if you want to get in on the closed beta, you can register at playxdefiant.com. And if you registered a while ago, then make sure to check your email to see if you got an invite. Also, by watching this stream or our partner channels streaming the beta, you have a chance to get access to the closed beta.
That all sounds so great, but are you also able to tell us about what people can expect when they're in the closed beta?
Yes, absolutely. You're going to see most of the maps and modes, all of the factions and weapons that we plan to have at launch. So it's a pretty full beta. And for the last 3 days, we're going to actually have players playing the ranked modes of some of our modes. So players will get a taste of ranked for the first time, which will be great. Also, I'm really excited to announce that there will be a rewards track. So think mini battle pass with exclusive content that players can unlock, and they'll keep it when the game goes live.
Oh, I love that. Getting to keep something when you get it first. Make sure you go to playxdefiant.com to register, and you want to stay on this stream because if you want some of those exclusives, you do have a chance to get a closed beta access drop. And on top of that, we're going to see some players compete in XDefiant for the very first time coming up soon. But I do think, Mark, it's time for us to take a look at what exactly XDefiant has to offer.
This is XDefiant, a free-to-play competitive shooter featuring fast-paced gunplay complemented with specialized factions. So, what are the factions? Our factions are all drawn from iconic Ubisoft worlds and represent distinct classes, each with unique abilities and ultras. You can choose any character from any faction to assemble your team of 6 players. And during the game, you can change your faction or loadout to adapt your strategy. For your loadout, choose from a large arsenal of weapons and attachments to customize and fit your playstyle. At its core, XDefiant features realistic gunplay and the fun, familiar mechanics of an arena shooter. Each battle will take place on one of our 14 starting maps. Play casual matches and have fun with players of all types and skills, where every match delivers an unpredictable and unique experience. Or play ranked mode in competitive matchups against your peers to push yourself further and see what you're truly made of, whether you're a beginner or ready to dominate the game. XDefiant is free with crossplay, so jump in with your friends across platforms. And as a live game with fresh new content every single season, XDefiant will continue to deliver an accelerating experience that will always be free to play and never pay to win. XDefiant brings together iconic factions from Ubisoft's many worlds. Throw members of different factions together in mixed teams, and no battle plays out the same way twice. Each faction brings a special set of skills to the table. Think of each faction as a class with a unique set of traits, activated abilities, and an ultra that can change the course of a match if you time it right. The spies of Echelon keep enemies off balance with subterfuge and info warfare, but they aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. Perfect for lone wolves, flankers, and anyone who appreciates the element of surprise. Cleaners specialize in area denial. They solve their problems and territorial disputes with fire. When you hear that flamethrower kick in, you might want to run.
Nice and clean.
Libertad's freedom fighters make their whole team better. They use BioVita therapies to keep themselves and their squad mates alive and in the battle, even against overwhelming odds.
Guerrillas never give up!
Members of DedSec can hack and take over enemy hardware, or even lock foes out of their abilities entirely and scramble their HUD. DedSec members also get to unleash this little guy.
Who makes some friends?
Phantoms are ex-ghosts who use their advanced tech for personal and team defense. They're the tankiest faction, and like Libertad, at their best when they roll with allies. Faction members can also equip any loadout, which brings us to the other stars of XDefiant, the weaponry.
Here they come.
Assault rifles, SMGs, LMGs, marksman rifles, snipers, shotguns, sidearms. Each one of the 24 weapons tuned for authenticity, feel, and gameplay balance. You can unlock over 40 attachments to tune each weapon to your preference, then combine factions and loadouts to create your own playstyle. And remember, every ability, ultra, and loadout has a counterplay, because in XDefiant, team tactics and old-fashioned marksmanship are key to any victory.
That was a whole lot of information we just got. So Mark, if you wouldn't mind, could you talk to us a little bit about how those factions could complement someone's playstyle?
Yeah, so one of the rules we had around creating factions is that a player should be able to focus on their own playstyle. What we did is we built into the factions a lot of passive team support. So no matter how you play, you'll likely be contributing to your team via traits and abilities. But the really best players are going to understand how all of the factions work as a team.
Well, in those teams, they have to play somewhere, right? So why don't we go take a look now at some of XDefiant's maps and modes.
XDefiant's battles take place in a wide variety of maps, several inspired by Ubisoft's worlds and factions. Pueblito may look familiar to anyone who's engineered a Libertad uprising in the Caribbean nation of Yara. This fishing village combines a central, open area surrounded by a chaotic network of back alleys and blind corners. A juicy DedSec target, the Noodleplex Tech campus's manicured exterior and decadent interiors make for distinct objective zones, while a classic 3-lane structure helps ensure a balanced match flow. Midway is a linear map, kicking off with outside amusement park attractions before moving through a haunted house, and then the long final approach to a Ferris wheel. Attica Heights Research Facility is a symmetrical map with upper and lower floors, an ideal competitive battleground for Phantoms and non-Phantoms alike. That's just a few of the 14 maps at launch. XDefiant's fast-paced arena and linear 6v6 modes are easy to jump into, but reward skill and teamwork. Domination and Occupy are riffs on classic arena modes, where you take and hold territory with help from your faction abilities. In Hotshot, another arena mode, you pick up bounties dropped by fallen enemies to score points. The player with the most bounties gets a movement and rate of fire boost, as well as a bounty score multiplier. But they also show up on the enemy's HUD, so good luck staying alive. For linear modes like Escort and Zone Control, teams take on dedicated attacker or defender roles with opposing objectives. The attacking team's objective will progress them through the map, while the defense tries to stop them in their tracks. In Escort, for example, attackers try to move the package through a series of checkpoints to its final destination. Defenders do what they can to stop or even reverse the package's progress. Ranked play is coming in Season 1 with tweaked rule sets to support competitive play. XDefiant will continue to add new maps, modes, and limited time experiences, bringing you new challenges with each season.
It sounds like XDefiant's going to have both casual and ranked modes. So can you tell us a little bit about how they're going to play out? What might be different between the two?
Yeah, of course. Casual, 6v6, all the modes, all the maps, no skill-based matchmaking. Ranked will be limited combinations of maps and modes. It'll be 4v4 and 6v6. It will really be the place where you're going to be match made against players of your same skill level. You're going to be able to, rank up, get better, season after season, improve your skills.
Okay, I need to go back for just a second because the ranked sounds great, but you said something that has been a hot button topic for a long time, which is skill-based matchmaking in casual. Yes, no. Some people love it, some people hate it. You have decided with XDefiant to go for none in casual. Why is that?
Well, it is a divisive topic, but I felt that when you have skill-based matchmaking, you get a very stale experience, right? You playing against basically the same players, the same skill level. They probably play like you, right? They've used the same weapons and loadouts and make the same choices that you make. So you end up in this sort of static, Groundhog Day experience of just playing the same group of people over and over and over again. So by taking out skill-based matchmaking from casual, you get a more varied experience. You get into a match, some players are going to be better than you, some players are going to be worse than you. We use skill to balance the teams to make sure that it's a fair game, but on each team there's going to be a variety of skill levels, and I think that adds variety to the gameplay and makes it last longer, to be honest.
Well, whether the gameplay is in casual or in ranked, it's all going to involve the roadmap, so let's go take a look at that feature.
Smoke 'em.
While XDefiant is free to play, it comes with a strong lineup of content starting from day one. At launch, you can fight as one of 4 factions, along with the earnable hacktivist group, DedSec. With 14 different maps, 24 unique weapons, and 44 customizable attachments to unlock, you'll have a wealth of content to dive into at the game's release. Every 3 months, we'll bring a new season that includes a brand new faction with new characters, new maps, new weapons, a new battle pass, new cosmetics, and events. Listening to our community and always being transparent will remain our priority. Plus, ongoing live support will deliver new seasonal events and balance updates. XDefiant is committed to supporting its players season over season with a wide variety of fresh and fun content that raises competition to the next level.
I know XDefiant's been doing a lot of testing with the community, so could you tell us a little bit about what's been happening?
Yeah, when we started this game, one of the pillars that we set forth was being transparent, communicating with our audience, making them part of the team when we're making this game. And so we ended up launching something called the Insider Sessions, where every Friday, basically, we invited the players to come play with the devs and got some great feedback and built, hopefully, a great trust from the community. It's been a great experience. It's made, I think, game development more fun in a way because we get to develop with the audience that we're playing with.
Is that philosophy going to continue on once the game's live?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're talking about pre-live right now, and yes, it's important leading up to launch, but no, this is something that we want to do, for the life of the product. And this also, we're not going to shift to make the next game after we make this, right? This is not a recycling of a title over and over again. This is a long-term game that we want to stay committed to, and we need the community to stay committed to it.
Well, I love to hear that, and I'm sure they do as well. But Mark, thank you so much for joining us, sharing all of your insights. I really, really appreciate it. But as a reminder, guys, XDefiant's closed beta is live right now. You can get access by watching this stream or other partner channels who are streaming the XDefiant beta. Or get your chance by registering at playxdefiant.com. Now, here's a little something for you to watch while we transition to our main event.
Stand by for hostilities. Weapons hot. Push the package to the delivery zone.
Targeting enemy objective.
Excellent teamwork. Our side is succeeding. Maintain these tactics.
Enemy eliminated.
Hostiles closing on our progress point. Situation critical. Hostiles are winning, Agent. Push that package immediately or fail.
Engage your camo. Do or die time. Stop the package, and that's all she wrote.
We're facing mission failure, Agent.
Target neutralized.
Unequivocal victory achieved.
Welcome back inside the Poker Go studio in Las Vegas, Nevada, as we get set for the main event of the XDefiant showcase. Team X and Team Pac-Man are just about ready to play in what promises to be an intense best-of-7 series. As you guys know, I'm Katie Bedford, and I'm joined on the desks by Uber Shouts, and I hold shift for the gameplay portion of the showcase. Now, I just finished chatting with executive producer Mark Rubin, and you could feel the passion he has for the fact that today is finally here. And I know you guys are really excited as well, because you guys are going to be the first ones to ever cast over XDefiant.
Yeah, don't put any pressure on it or anything there, Katie. Goodness gracious. But this is going to be a pretty extravagant event. You've got a brand new reveal for what is going to be a really exciting kind of mix worth of game modes and maps overall. But the players that have been collected for this are also top of the line. So it really feels like everything is just setting the bar at a really high place just to get us all started.
There's something special about being able to get together at the start of something that we hope is going to be huge. And the collection of players that we've brought in here have got incredible stories spanning years and years of FPS competition. So who better than to take this game for a test drive than these guys?
Well, we got to see how those 8 players were divvied up into our 2 teams. So, Shift, why don't you lead us into Team X?
Yeah, our captains, I think, did a really nice job trying to keep it really even. But I will say, Aches in particular has picked an absolutely disastrous roster. Slacked, Zuma, and Crib6. A good balance of just historical SMG and ARs. So we'll got to get a feel as far as composition is included. And then when you've got the personalities of Zuma and Crib6 independently, great. But together, I'm expecting these player camps to be a little wild.
Yeah, maybe some chemical reactions on some of these rosters. On the other side of things, Team Pac-Man obviously headed up by the man himself, someone who's been working pretty close with the developers on XDefiant, so has a really good understanding of the game. We know that's going to translate in a big way. And the team he's picked, we've got current LA Thieves coach JCap, who is a back-to-back world champion in FPS. And Naval comes in as a part of the 2-piece that made that FaZe roster with Zuma so successful for that sort of stint. And then, of course, what team of legends would be complete without the one, the only Doug Sensor Martin, the most tenacious gamer I've ever seen. The man refuses to give up. He'll be out there and, of course, be looking to throw down and come out swinging, Katie.
Look, if nothing else, they have so much confidence, and that's why we actually sat down with Aches and Pac-Man, our 2 captains, to hear a little bit about their thoughts before everything gets started.
Well, first off, I picked JCap and Enable, just because I know that they're solid communicators and traditionally some of the best assault rifle players that have actually ever played the games. So I knew I needed people like that to basically hold down the fort for me and Sensor. I picked Sensor because I believe that he's truly clutch, and I needed a strong submachine gun presence. I really think that the balance of my team is really good, so that's why I went this route. I wanted to have people that could do both roles, but I need people that were more proficient in one than me. So that's why I took JCap and Enable, because I think they're better assault rifle players than I am.
So beforehand, we got all the players 4 to 5 hours of game time, and I've specifically drafted my team in a way to really fill out the roles I wanted to get, and I think I got the best players in each role. Slack's actually been probably one of the better players that we've had so far. He's been killing it in all the play tests we've done, and so he really likes Libertad's Baya Vida, and I feel like that's a really crucial, game swinging faction to play, and so I think he's going to do awesome in that role. And then we got Krim, who's just a really good long-range marksman player, and we just got all our bases covered.
Let's get into the schedule we're going to follow for today. We're starting with Domination on Noodleplex. Then we're going to head over to Zoo for Escort. Next, we'll play Occupy on Pueblito. Then it's Zone Control on Midway. Games 5, 6, and 7 will only be played if necessary. And that lineup will be Domination on Echelon HQ, Escort on Meltdown, and Occupy on Liberty. Now, before we get started, and we're just moments away from this show match, we gotta do some predictions. So, Uber, take it away. Who do you think is taking this entire series, this tournament, the whole thing?
I got some intel because I was thrust into this baptism of fire during play tests, and I got absolutely fried by Pac-Man. Like back-to-back maps. The guy is absolutely nasty. He's been working pretty closely with the title, right, and with the development process, so understands the game really well. And I'm looking out for your boy Enable. 9-time major champion. The guy's still going to be beaming. I think he's one to watch.
I still think you're undervaluing what Aches has done with this roster. Because, yeah, he's been working on the game as well.
He's done nothing. You just asked him to play.
I mean,
what has he done?
You can say the same thing about Pac. I'm still going with the fact that outside of the individual gun skill, we have a more recent pro player base on this roster. And on top of that, you've got 2 of the most explosive personalities. I'm expecting some Marrons to fly.
This guy is ignoring the fact that Sensor is currently competing.
No. 2 big biceps aside, I'm still going with the more proven pro roster.
Unreal.
Unreal indeed. It looks like they're sticking with exactly the teams they introduced earlier, but that means it's time for map number 1. So Uber Shift, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Katie. And finally, it is time to get the XDefiant showcase underway. Team Aches featuring Slack, Zuber, and Crimsix go up against Team Pac-Man featuring JCap, Enable, and Sensor. Map 1 is Noodleplex Domination. It all starts now.
Oh man, I could not be more excited to see these guys get fiery, get lit, see who's gonna start the trash talk in person first. That's the biggest thing. But as you start to mention, domination, 3 points, capture them, earn time. Capture 2 of them, you get 2 points per second. Otherwise, you'll be stuck on 1. And there is the potential of full triple domination in this mode.
Yeah, great start here for Team Pac-Man. You see Sensor straight up the middle of the map. He has his secondary weapon out. He's moving faster when he has that gun up as opposed to his primary. And nice use of the mag barrier down here for JCap. Sets up a pretty defensible position in the middle of the map, and now Team Aches are going to get pushed off his objectives.
Yeah, the early control of B, I think, is going to be the majority of what you're always going to see in domination, but it's down to what these players feel is the stronger side, as often these maps are not fully symmetrical, right? So do you want A and B? Do you want B and C? That's kind of going to be the biggest battle, while also still focused on the mid-map, and I think most importantly, what weapons and what abilities are we going to see trying to control those spaces.
Yeah, so every player on either of these teams are playing as a different class. These classes are actually sort of factions from previous Ubisoft titles, right? Where, DedSec, of course, they hail from Watch Dogs. Echelon, of course, from Splinter Cell. Libertad as well, a class that has healing capability, comes from Far Cry 6 here. So you see JCap, he's on a Phantom class here who can deploy that mag barrier. He has more health by default as well, making him a bit more durable in those stand-up gunfights.
Yeah, each of the factions are going to come with 1 activatable ability, as well as that middle bottom area. That's their Ultra Charge, which is obviously a game-changing ability, depending on the class that you happen to be put in. But like like you mentioned, passive abilities are going to be also inherently involved with all of these different factions. So Hardened giving you that little bit of extra life is going to be key towards kind of setting up who's your quote-unquote frontliner.
You're going to see many of the weapons you know and love from previous sort of realistic shooters, right? So you enable here with the ACR, which is a weapon that is just disgustingly accurate, a little bit tougher to get value out of up close, but really at those longer ranges, it's pretty scary. Aegis has always been talked about the M16. The burst fire on this weapon, it's frighteningly accurate as well. And of course, the Vector comes into this game, Pac-Man making full use of that, getting right up in his opponent's faces.
Yeah, it's one of those things you do see that kind of backline, frontline mentality, not just because of those classes and factions, but more so off of the weapons themselves, where that M16, yeah, burst weapon, it's not going to be all that successful when you get into close quarters. You want to try to see those subs really kind of force the issue when you start to make these objective-based plays, which, by the way, speaking of, not to lose sight of the state of the game here, this has been a dominant start from Team Pac-Man. Incendiary drone's going to be called out. That's going to leave that little trail of napalm right down a line as they try to re-break in, try to get this game close for Team 8.
Crimsix on the Phantom class here, so again, has access to that mag barrier if he wants to deploy it here. Does throw it up, but too far in front of him here, and he gets overrun. Able to find a quick double here, and Team Aches for a moment able to control the courtyard. Aches trying to work in the periphery here, and you can see that JCap struggles. It's a three-piece for Aches, an absolute menace in the courtyard.
And as we start to get a little bit closer towards this halftime period, as soon as we get through this last 2 minutes, the sides will swap and we'll go at it once again. No full actual score limit here. It's all based off of time. So being able to pick up these 2-for-1 captures are going to get that cushion into a position to where you really feel comfortable going into that second side swap.
Now again, maybe you experienced this in some arena shooters in the past, but each class has an ultra ability. This is Aegis. JCap making use here of the Phantom's ultra. It's a shield that's impenetrable, essentially, and you don't want to be caught inside it with him.
Great moment here. Let's take a listen into Team 8, see what's going on in the comms.
Got him. There's one behind us. Yo, he's on our home flag. He's on our home flag.
Yeah.
I'm on B.
He's on our home flag. He's spawn killing Doug.
I'll get him.
Spawn killing us.
Oh, he got me. He's got an ult on.
I got C. I'm on C. I'm on C.
Okay, yeah. Two there.
They ran back to B.
Where's the zone?
Yeah, it's the famous 5.7 pistol that obviously Sam Fisher makes use of in Splinter Cell there. It's pretty scary, especially when that class has sort of a digital ghillie suit ability, so you are virtually invisible. You can still be seen. It's like active camo, right? You can kind of see the outline of someone if they're moving. Enable here is on the Libertad class, and again, the Bio Vita boost that he just uses there, he's going to be able to give healing and a temporary health boost, so that takes him to 120, which is equal to that of the Phantoms, which are the more sort of tanky class at default. And see that ultra being used. It's Medico Supremo. Very, very hard to take a player down when they're under the effect of this.
It's an extreme amount of health per second, and it also applies to all of your teammates around you. So it gives you that initial charge plus the extra healing on top. Yeah, very difficult to take down, but here's the cool thing about all these ultras. As strong as they are still very counterable. You know, when we were doing the play test, we saw that Medico Supremo pop off. You're like, can you even kill this guy? And yes, with good team shots, you still can take down that Libertad out of their ultra. So good neutralization of what is a very strong ultra in the play, and as you start to see the stretch come across, Aches, how about that little quad feed for him, able to allow his team a chance to get back into this game, still down a pretty significant margin.
Zuma known for the signature flank. I'm not referring to the podcast there. He's able to wrap around, but he's not able to get too much done here for Team Aches.
It's a pretty convincing half, and that's the thing is outside of us getting familiar with the maps, the modes, the players, the weapons, all the things that come with it, hey, you got to remember that you've only got this back half now to try to make up this point differential that you're at. So when you're looking at this from Slack's perspective, you got a lot of groundwork to do to get back in this game. Otherwise, Mercy Rule could still be in effect if you cannot mathematically come back.
Yeah, they are a long way behind, right? We're really starting to run out of time now. 4 minutes, 40 seconds left in the round here. Slack under the effects of Bio Vita boost, so that extra health really goes a long way in winning that gunfight. Pac-Man tries to round the corner. He's brought down. That's 2 on the trot now for Slack. And Sensor also falling. Slack now able to take some control here. Maybe a chance for a bit of a comeback here. But you can see JCap working his way, I think, past the noodle sign now, taking his time, knows his team has a strong lead to play off.
And that's the other thing when you consider the variety of different game modes that we're going to have. How you play around your teammates is going to change every single map that we see today. So a lot of these players very familiar with the domination game mode very clearly. And at this point, I think you look at this from Team Pac-Man and say, hey, we're in a very comfortable lead. We don't need to force anything through this third capture zone. Let's just lock up this first map with a 2-point capture.
Pac-Man playing up in the face as well a lot of the time, that Vector. You actually need to throw an extended mag on that weapon more often than not because it spits bullets out like crazy and you don't want to spend all of your time reloading. Aches here though, trying to make his way back in for the rest of his squad, but Enable's sitting pretty now. I'm going to make his way in towards that courtyard. Still a healthy lead here for Team X. Flash out, playing that sort of longer range with the ACR and is able to back away with that healing effect. Slacked also under the Biovita boost now. Again, giving that healing in an AoE is huge, and now seem to trade up in that gunfight and go for 2.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a lot of really key points here as far as where the uniqueness of XDefiant are. Hold on a second. Okay, you're seeing the presence of the M16 really reign supreme all of a sudden, but attachments, they're going to be available to customize your weapons in a variety of ways that you're familiar with from other titles and things of the nature. So yeah, things like extended mags, being able to put foregrips or different stocks or different optics on your weapon could be really influential towards really kind of letting the weapon shine.
Ooh, I love that from Ace. A great way to try and get his team back into this now, opting for sort of the full automatic of the ACR over the M16 as he had previously. Enabled those going to be able to push his way out. Bit of a top up now as he looks to try and work his way back into the middle part of the map. He is ready. Look at that. Waits for Zuma to come around the corner, takes him down. And now Team Pac-Man look like they're ready to try to flip the middle part.
Wow, clean 4-man feeds, clean team wipes coming through time and time again. And this lead is becoming unachievable nearly. 515 to 298 with 2 zones captured. This has been a dominant display, no pun intended here. And I don't know, it's one of those things that we're still going to get a feel for it. These players are obviously still getting a feel for how things are working around the map. But overall, when you start to consider things like efficiency and pushes, you're looking at all these activatable abilities always coming out for Team Pac-Man, which has led to a lot of these break successes.
We see Pac-Man and Sense have been playing a lot of the SMG play for much of the map. Pac-Man now making the switch up here. But it is obviously 2 points to 1. Slack looking to try and flip things back here over on C, but we're getting out of hand now. It's a minute 55 left in the round. A huge lead for Team Pac-Man.
You essentially have to play for a triple cap at this point in time. It's never something you want to hear because it's very difficult to be able to hold all 3 zones at the same time. Things like spawn changes, those are tough to read in 4v4s, although Slack, Crim getting work done, but right as soon as I say it, it's an immediate bounce back. Pac-Man able to get right back into the mix, and this becomes, again, that point where it becomes unachievable, you feel like, just based on the score, and there it is. Mercy rule applied. It was too difficult and too impossible mathematically for the team to come back, so yes, the game is automatically ended.
Yeah, what an opening here for Team Pac-Man. A bit of a drubbing, I've got to say. Teammates struggling to keep up there, and I really love seeing a lot of the up-close and personal play, a lot of the SMG running from Team Pac-Man really makes a big difference. What a way to start the series. Team Pac-Man go up 1-0.
Talk about a best case scenario for Team Pac-Man. That was a heck of a game 1, and they took it in style. So let's go ahead and bring up those game results to see exactly how they got it done. Uber, walk us through it.
Yeah, let's talk about a captain on Team Pac-Man's side, the man himself. He's playing right up close and personal a lot of the time. And that's actually by design because he is using the class known as the Cleaners, right? Which is obviously, you know, a faction from Tom Clancy's The Division. Their passive ability actually limits their max range. So already you need to try and find a way to get a bit closer, but you trade that for having incendiary damage on all of your shots. So really, really hard to stave that damage off. Pac-Man is, you know, pushing a lot of close corridors, getting value out of the incinerator drone, which just throws napalm down in a line. And look at the bottom of the scoreboard there. I'm not pointing out JCap for any sort of negative reason, but he comes out with 12 assists. He is moving to the middle part of the map, that courtyard, setting up the mag barrier so Pac-Man can close the gap safely. That little 2-piece has been a huge part of the success for Team Pac-Man so far. They looked really good.
You know who didn't look really good?
This guy's team.
The team that got Mercy Rule in map 1. How are you doing? Are you okay?
You guys act like this isn't a best of 7. It's just 1 map.
Yeah, you arbitrarily picked the wrong team. Now you have to own it.
I'm fine. I'm still sticking with my boys. Okay. All right, I got faith. Zuma only had 1,500 damage. He's gonna clean things up. All right, he's got his nickname on being a Zuma flank. We're gonna see that come into play more often. And here's the thing: even though your boys may have been more efficient off of the overall abilities, if Slacked is gonna be doing stuff like this throughout the day with the M16, I'm still thinking that these guys could come back and possibly win 4 maps in a row because this is some nasty gameplay and really showcases the high-level ceiling that the M16 has when it comes to kill potential.
You've got to look out for the Libertad class. Not only do they have increased passive health regeneration, but if you pop that Biovita boost before jumping into a fight, you get that over health essentially for yourself and anybody close by, plus the increased healing. So really scary if you run into an opponent who's just popped that ability. You have to nail them quickly, otherwise they will kill you 1-1.
All right, again, Team Pac-Man taking the first map, Noodleplex going their way, but that doesn't mean Team X can't answer back on Escort, which will be played on Zoo coming up in just a minute, because first, we actually took the time to talk to the players because we wanted to know who they think their team's MVP is going to be, and also the most respected or maybe even feared player across the aisle.
I'm looking for a player to carry our team today. I have to go with Aches. You know, he's been working hands-on with XDefiant and been working on the game, so I expect him to know all the little things, you know, and carry us to victory.
Clutch situation on my team right now, I think I'm leaning on Doug Sensenmarch, still competing at almost the highest level, doing his thing. And, you know, I think that experience, he's still grinding every day. I think he's gonna come out and be the X factor for us.
I expect Aches to fully carry us if he needs to. Like I said, he has the most playtime on the game. The guy's helped make the game. So when I'm looking at someone to clutch up for the team, it's gotta be him.
The hard carry's gotta be Pac. This only because it would be me, but he's got a lot more reps than everyone else on the team. So he's got the experience. I'll give it to him. You give me like 2 days though, and I'd be the hard carry. I'd be the best in the entire lobby.
Well, I feel like maybe respect was the wrong word because there was certainly no love lost.
What do you expect from these guys, really?
That is very fair. But I said it. We've got Escort coming up on Zoo next. And Shift, could you help the audience out? Explain a little bit about what we can expect from Escort.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see it happen, and it's going to be pretty familiar. You're going to have a package in the middle of the map. It has been familiarly nicknamed as Carlos in the community and the Reddit already, so we're going to be giving it some love. We love a little bit of Carlos. But I think the thing is, this is all about a time race, getting the package as far as you possibly can to hopefully the end goal. But if you do not, it's a stopwatch game mode. So you'll swap the sides and the other team will have a chance to attack while the other gets a chance to defend and hopefully do it better.
Yeah, you're trying to get it furthest, and obviously if you're standing within proximity to the package, to Carlos as it were, you will escort it. It will advance across the map, and there are checkpoints where the attacker spawn will move up, the defender spawn will move back. So we'll see fighting happening all through the map in different areas.
Well, we'll have to find out what happens to Carlos and who does the best job of getting Zoo down and moving that Escort package, which means we're handing it back over to Uber and Shift to take it away for map 2.
Thanks so much, Katie. My boys, they may be down for now, but hey, it's best of 7. We've got Zoo, we've got Escort, and I'm ready to see the action come underway. A lot of different variety of game modes that we're gonna have, but this is the one to try to get it all knotted up at one apiece. Let's get it on.
Here we go now. We're going to be starting with the defenders here. JCap, we're on deck with him, and there's a bit of time before the round begins, about 30 to sort of 40 seconds where you can go up and set up. Now, I want you to keep an eye on this left-hand side of the map where JCap is heading. There's actually a pretty wide expanse between the attacker's spawn and where JCap's about to post up. So the ACR pretty effective at this kind of range. Can be punishing for the defenders to make their way out here, especially into this mag barrier.
Yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind, and I know some people are going to be looking at this saying, these guys are getting shot off spawn. There are barriers that will protect you from the attacking side so that we are not just getting spawn trapped over and over and over again. But like you mentioned, the checkpoint will start to move. So for the defense, if you can sufficiently trade out kills here, you can really keep the pressure on and keep the offense off that opening package. And the nades are coming out to play already early for JCap.
You know what's funny? You can react to when you get eliminated in a different way. You can kind of emote it to some degree, which is a bit of fun there. JCap, key nade here, but looks like, Team 8's already starting to make their way up the map.
Well dealt with, though. How about this from Pac-Man? Has one more in front, and it's a triple from Pac-Man, completely staving off the offense. It looked good. I mean, everyone was getting out of spawn. Pac was the last player left, but he's able to keep the defense going with only giving up just 4%. Look at that total in the middle.
Yeah, he's really working that part of the map. Zuma, again, on his way to spawn now. He's on one of the cleaner classes, so he's actually picked up the Molotov as one of his deployables, maybe to make it harder for the defenders to set up on a high ground or around the periphery. You can see now the package is on the move, mag barrier set up, and very quickly Zuma takes the fight straight to enable.
The other thing you got to keep in mind is not only does the package move when you're in that little circle, the more players you have in it, the faster Carlos will start to go. Where on the opposite side, if you haven't been in this radius for all that long, there is a chance for the package to start to retreat backwards. So it does have a little flexibility in how how it actually moves across the terrain. Zuma opening up space, and this will start to get you towards that first 33%. That's your first checkpoint if you're looking at this for Team Ace.
This is really good progress here. We talked about the left-hand side of the map from the defender perspective. The other side of the map actually has closer quarters where your SMGs can actually advance and they don't have to cross this like wide expanse of open space. Crimsix hoping to wrap around here. He takes JCap by surprise and he's able to get the better of him now. Wraps around, he has that mag barrier available, but he wants to keep nipping at the heels of defenders, making it hard to set up and enable. Might be the next to fall into his trap. Crimsix taking some shots. He can't believe it didn't quite connect there. Eventually he's going to fall.
BioVita popped as you're going to see Enable try to make the secondary play, and he does double up. That'll do well to try to stall out this play a little bit longer. You also will notice that there is a clock at the very top. So again, it's like we mentioned, a little bit of a stopwatch. You do have to race the clock while also trying to meet these checkpoints and giving yourself a little bit more cushion to play with.
Should see a lot of ACR, a lot of M16 play here with these more open areas. That does put JCap in a bit of a rough spot there as he gets run down by Ace. And oh dear, okay. Got himself a face hug from the spider bot here. That is obviously the DedSec class's one of their deployables. Pretty scary when that one jumps on you. All right, let's take the chance to listen to Team Pac-Man and see what's going on in the call.
Two left, 2 weak. I need help.
Yeah, hold on. I'll push it through right then. I'll push it through right.
Prim weak.
Far left.
Oh, they're behind the wall. 3 left. All 3 left.
2. 3, they're all weak.
Nice.
Oh my God.
I have an eyelid. I'm popping it.
I got one.
Oh my God. Get talked.
I think one's in the right.
They're all in their spawn. They're literally all in their spawn.
You can see them.
I see all of them. I see all of them.
Oh, damn. Let's go. Oh, yeah, 2 came low left.
2 low left, 1 top right.
Top window, top left window patch. Right trap. That's nuts.
Right dead.
Nice.
Stay left pack, I'm hitting the left.
But let's talk about the defenders because Team Pac-Man are settling into this, and now the digital ghillie suit sensor got to be coming out here with that Ultra, and Crimsix gets blasted. That's 2. Zuma going to fall next.
Look at the little synergy, though. The MagSec barrier gets popped right as the sonar goggles come out. So not only is the defense settling in, they're starting to dominate again. This payload has moved all the way back to just 14% worth of progress. So this thing needs to start to get on its high horse if Carlos wants to see the second part of this map.
Okay, here it is. Lockout is available for Pac-Man. Curious to see how he tries to make use of it. Maybe if there's a Phantom class trying to use Aegis or something similar, he can shut that down. He sees Aegis coming though. Pac-Man really starting to fry on this side of the map with the MP7. JCat though has managed to wrap around behind Crimsix, start to put pressure down, but we have a minute left in the round, and the package has, a long way to go. We'll be putting it late.
And it's getting further and further and further away from the checkpoint. So yeah, we need to start seeing something here from the offensive side. Otherwise, this could be another very quick second map. Team Pac-Man just laying on the heavy damage right now, right in front of the payload. 43 seconds. Finally, the offense will get on to start to move this, but Enable's on the flank, able to take the players right back off. BioVita pop, and that will be enough for Enable to actually, I don't want this battle. Let me back away, try to value my life. Not able to do so. Ake's able to find the kill, is he? There it is, sonar goggles out. Yeah. That will help confirm it.
He pops the sonar goggles. His opponent was using BioVita boost, that's why they came up orange, so he probably realized in one burst he wasn't even able to bring them down. It's going to be Sensor, though, able to take care of Ace. Now the package start and make some real progress. 22.5%. Crimsix able to shut down Pac-Man now and start to get back on the attack once more.
And that little hologram of where Carlos was, that was actually where the finish line would have been, saying this is your forward progress, so to speak. But overtime also in play, so no more clock is available. So the offense has to stay on the package, and they will not be able to do so. That was not a great play from the offensive half there from Team Ace.
JCap is sat there. He has Aegis ready to go. So even if there is an attacker that just turns up and tries to advance through the map, he's probably going to be able to shut them down pretty comfortably. And now Team Pac-Man in a pretty, again, I'll use the word again, comfortable position, right? They only have to push through, what was it, like 22% of the map in order to win.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing about it is, let's just say, for instance, hypothetically, that Carlos was able to get all the way to the finish line. Then it becomes a race against who did it faster. But since Carlos didn't even make it past the first checkpoint, now the goal from Team Pac-Man is, hey, just get it to that 28% mark to get the win and put yourself in a comfortable 2-0 position. Opening the digital ghillie suit is Aches. Just try to get a read for free here on where exactly the offense is coming from. Only takes down 1 elimination, though, so a sizable trade as the offense starts to make its play forward.
Yeah, Aches trying to control the right-hand side of the map. He correctly reads, actually, that Team Pac-Man want to go there first, so just a bit of a rat play with the ghillie suit. But if you move, you can be spotted, so you're not completely invisible. Slacked is going to be very, very hard to remove from this spot. This is like a little bit of a little head box here where, Enable would have had to just drill him in the head pretty expertly from long range to have done too much about it. So this is the first this first order of business is to get Slacked out of that position for the attackers.
And you need to start using some possible activatables. One thing to keep in mind, when you swap the sides, your ultras completely reset. So things like the Aegis that was held onto at the end of that last round, that does not come with you. So you have to recharge all these ultras up once again, and it looks like the offense is able to clear out some of these key positions to get onto Carlos and start making some moves.
See, Pac-Man making great use again of the incinerator drone there, just straight down the corridor, making it very, very hard for anyone to push up towards him, giving him a lot of room to work. And we're on the move here. Your Sensor trying to make his way to the right-hand side. He's been playing the MP7 pretty much this entire map so far. That combined with the digital ghillie suit, when you're not moving, makes it very, very hard to spot you. It's almost impossible to sort of win that. You've got to have a sixth sense about that kind of thing. 15% and counting here. Team Pac-Man taking no prisoners.
And a prime example right there of Sensor being able to scout out the opposite echelon in that digital ghillie suit. So yes, it's difficult to see players, but if you've got a keen eye, it's almost easy to pick them up. And that is it right there. Wow.
Well, quick as you like, it's another map where Team Pac-Man come out on top. A indomitable defense turns into a lightning-fast attack, and that's going to be 2-0.
Well, I know this is a best of 7, but Team Pac-Man in 2 maps is already halfway to winning the entire show match, and that is very scary, especially for Shift, who picked Team Ace. Look, it was a mercy rule in Game 1 as we pull up these results. It was unstoppable Game 2. What is going on?
Look, Team Pac-Man is getting it done outside of just Pac-Man, who is the one that really kind of showed up on the top of the scoreboard for his squad in map number 1. To see JCap, Enable, and Sensor all put together some incredible numbers, that just goes to show that the team is fully clicking and fully functioning, which is a bit of a surprise to us generally, considering that they had a last-minute fill-in for JCap, and he's topping the leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, in playtest, Pac-Man is like solo carrying the team, unless Ace is on that same team, in which case it's super unbalanced experience, and we're just getting absolutely smacked there. Look, you saw how difficult it was, I think, for Team Ace to start to attack on that map. Very, very difficult to move up the extremities. Sensor, one of multiple players on Team Pac-Man that make it very, very tricky to move up here. This part of the map's hard to get into once you go from long, wide open to pretty close around this L-bend corner, and Sensor's playing to his strengths here. You notice, okay, for a moment he exposes himself there to some of those ARs, but then pops back around the rock, gives himself a chance to sort of regen, and then goes back in for the finish here. So very, very hard to move him and JCap from that position. You see JCap's having a lot of success, as indicated on the scoreboard there. Really hard, I think, to get started on that map. It's a shame because Zoo's a fantastic, gorgeous map. You'll see it, of course, when you have a chance to sort of, in the future. We didn't get to see as much of it, though, of course, as the team who attacks first isn't able to get very far.
And to see Doug playing around his teammates like that, that's just great, rare form for Doug Sensor Martin, who we're used to seeing.
That's common form.
No, common form Doug Sensor Martin is him without sleeves on. I don't know who enforced the sleeves rule for this event, but you had to know that Doug's feeling more constrained than normal.
We have a strict fire code here in Nevada. It gets too hot in there if he gets the guns out, you know what I'm saying?
All right, fair.
Yeah.
Look, attention stays on XDefiant, not Doug, okay? That's what we're trying to get at. Let's go ahead and pull up that schedule because we're moving on to map number 3. That's going to be on Pueblito, and it's going to be the Occupy game mode. So, Shift, if you wouldn't mind, we've seen Domination, we've seen Escort. What can we expect out of Occupy?
This is a game mode that all 8 of these players are going to be very familiar with. It is a moving hill-based game mode. You're going to see 5 different zones that will open up. They'll extend for 60 seconds at most, and when you're in control of the hill, you'll generate score, and then you'll rotate, try to do the whole thing all over again, where you're going to be seeing a lot of really interesting keys towards gameplay. Domination's all about just controlling the map. As you start to see Occupy come through, it's about picking which parts of the map that you want to run with, because you're going to see a lot of things like spawn manipulation really come into play towards gaining favor of winning those Occupy zones.
Yeah, that's definitely like a more advanced look at this game type, because the hill obviously will move in a predictable pattern from spot to spot. So you do want to try and make sure you're spawning in like an advantageous location. We'll see if that comes out here. We'll see how familiar like a lot of the players are, because Ace and Pac-Man probably have the spawns memorized. The rest of the boys are just trying to get their gunny up. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, look, if there's going to be any mode, any game where Team Ace can come back, it's really going to need to be this one, especially considering how familiar they should be with it. But I want to give them a little bit more time to get those comms, to figure themselves out. We got to talk about the giveaway. We got to talk about closed beta access. By watching the stream or partner channels streaming the beta, you get a chance to claim closed beta access. If you registered previously, check your email because some invites have already been sent out, and it's going to be available on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series for players with full cross-play support. As always, make sure to register at playxdefiant.com for a chance at access, but this is the first time our game has had no NDA, so stick around to see what happens. And we're going to see right now if Team X can get it done because, well, if they go 3 down in the hole, that's going to be real tough. So Uber Shift, I'm going to let you guys take it away, and Shift, good luck.
Yeah, you're going to need a Shift. Thank you very much, Katie. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to jump into Pueblito. The game mode is Occupy. It's 2-0 right now in favor of Team Pac-Man. Teammates need to start to get their foot on the gas, have a chance to make that comeback, that salty run back right here, right now.
Oh, let's go, baby. This is one that I will say I have a lot of inherent trust that my team of 4 is going to be able to really show up.
For what reason? For literally what reason?
This map with Aches, he's got the IGL comms down. I trust him to direct the troops just a touch better than Pac-Man.
He's fried!
Okay.
My boy's fried!
All right.
Is that FaZe? Sensor, Doug, Martin out here. Let's go, baby. Straight in the middle part of the map with the MP7 and a huge open here. Again, great to start to get some early points here on this sort of first Occupy zone. Zuma trying to work his way in from the outside. You see the Molotov down on the ground. Zuma getting a lot of value out of that.
And a really cool look at the overall movement mechanics out of Zuma, just sliding underneath to find that little backdoor entry. When that's the only way that you can get in is by crouching through or by, of course, getting on those hands and knees and sliding on into the zone. So, yeah, 18 seconds worth of time already. Not bad at all for Team Pac-Man. But as you see at the clock, zone will expire in 15 seconds, and our team's going to be focused on trying to rotate to the next hill.
Something you saw there very quickly is that players are able to change between those loadouts quite intuitively, quite quickly in between spawns. We're on board with Crimsix now, trying to get some value here with that MP7. Has access to that mag barrier, but with the zone expiring and moving right now, doesn't need to worry about it. Teammates have actually been able to make up their early deficit now, getting 2/3 of the points, and Team Pac-Man are able to at least get started early here on this next point.
Yeah, looking solid for it, at least at the moment. Sensor trying to open up the opening front door here, just trying to work from the front. And this is just a full-on stack. Yeah, be careful of any potential pinches, which looks like that will kind of allow an opportunity for the zone to stay in the hands. Even with the M16s at range, I mean, this is just great lockdown, watching the different angles of approach that can come through. And now as you get to that 30-second mark, you start to see that good last chance here for the team to break.
Something I like about the gameplay on Pueblito, Shift, is that there are some parts of the map you can only sort of slide through, like you sort of like, garage doors sort of pulled down, or just little openings you can slide in and under. Makes for some really exciting dynamic gameplay here. Sensor being a bit of a rat there, of course, with the digital ghillie suit, but we'll take those. He's able to get 2 down, and Team Pac-Man now all over this Occupy point.
Yeah, looking really good as far as how you control the space on the exit. And it'll be curious, I think, to see, as we continue through these, will our players change the activated abilities that they want? Because I'm a firm believer that if you're playing the Libertad, the healing class, that the El Remedio is actually great for these occupies because you can just drop it down. It has an aura gas. Right? Yeah, so you kind of just know where your healing is going to be if you're a teammate of those Libertad classes.
Yeah, look, in a similar vein, you see Pac-Man again comes out with the incinerator drone. In those close quarters, you can see the flames starting to leak. That's not even from Pac-Man, by the way. That's someone else, if I'm not mistaken. We haven't even talked about the Ultra yet of the cleaners known as the Purifier. It's a flamethrower. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Crimsix, hey, anybody want fries with that? My guy just got absolutely roasted across the map. That, again, was that incendiary drone. Lovely delivery there by Pac-Man.
And Pac-Man's team is just doing a better job right now of utilizing these abilities. I don't think at any point when we were playtesting, you look at them and say that any particular ability is more overpowered than others. The balance is really fair, and it still plays around the gameplay and the gunplay great, but it does give you that little extra effort when it comes to either setting up holds on the occupies or, in particular, trying to find ways to break. And Team Pac-Man's doing a really nice job of really executing on that.
This has been really back and forth, though. Here, this last zone for Team H has been pretty profitable here. See, Enable trying to make use of that Ultra there. Unfortunately for the Libertad class, getting sort of cut down. It does make you ultra durable, but you can definitely fall while using that ability. Slacked on the other side actually has that one available himself, but this guy does not need it. Eventually gets brought down, but here's the flamethrower. Zuma starting to fire up here.
And again, this is a great example. I know a lot of people, they see ultimates, ultras, things like that. They say, how does that not just break the game? That's two prime examples where the Medico Supremo was shut down and the Purifier was shut down before you really see it exhausting its entire duration. So a really good look to, again, reinforce that the gunplay still reigns supreme. Aegis now in play as you're going to start to see the last 15 seconds of this scrap time be earned up. And we've got our first little cushion, I would say, when it comes down to this differential in score.
Yeah, in fact, these hills have been pretty back and forth, I've got to say, but now starting to really come good for Team 8, should I say now, as they're the ones that are approaching 80 here, and a lot of value here for Rakes out of that Ultra. You can see just a few seconds now into this next zone. 3 minutes 23 on the clock. Slackity have brought down Ace, finding those 2 big kills earlier on, but JCap able to double down himself there and start to fire back.
Yeah, and Cryptix now just going to bump up the Occupy zone just a touch here, just trying to create a little bit of proximity to make sure that all these break attempts are essentially contested before you even see the zone. Really good stuff. Mag barrier to reinforce while his regen's in play, and this is now essentially 2 back-to-back zones that Team Aix has done really well with this Occupy rotation.
Yeah, I think you can see Team Pac-Man starting to fall behind a little bit. Enable able to find a couple quick kills there, but at long range. Crimsix able to bring him down. That's 2 for the man himself here. He already deployed that barrier just to control this small corridor, and he really hasn't left this part of the map now. Only 10 seconds or so left on this zone, but Crimsix pretty comfortable playing around that part of the map, and it's more than a cushion now. It is Team Aix out to a comfortable little lead.
Yeah, you essentially have to pull 30+ seconds here if you're Team Pac-Man just to get back into this game. It's starting to get a little out of hand. Not out of reach yet, but it's starting to feel like it as we rotate back into this very mixy first zone. And this is what I was looking for. Did anyone hold on to their Aegis? Because it's difficult to break through this again. That electromag weapon that's in here will one-shot you if you work your way through into that actual zone of control that he provides. So good usage to try to get some opening time, but better yet, the break looks really solid for Team Pac-Man.
Yeah, I mean, Aegis is, the player that uses Aegis, the one that's using the Phantom, has like a close range like scattergun.
Yeah.
But your teammates can actually benefit from that and make use of their longer range weapons, which is when it really starts to feel quite oppressive to play into. Even with that little power play, that little combination of ultras there, it's Team Aix that are continuing to extend their lead. They've basically had this zone for at least 45 seconds of its total minute. Very, very hard to sort of recover from now for Pac-Man as they are continuing to stay behind by about that 45 margin.
This is what we call those 40-20 exchanges, where you're soaking up either the first 20 and back 20, and you're only letting your opponent to get in for a small amount of scrap time. You start to get these incremental leads, and you start to grow what I like to call leader's advantage, where you've got the decision-making ability to say, yeah, we're going to commit the play for full 60 seconds, or we're going to try to put the pressure on rotation. Second sonar goggles for Aix. That is an incredible amount of charge to be able to put into the Ultras, and he's behind the entire play, trying to blow it up from the back. Yeah, how about it? Triple kill for Aix, as that will lead to his team growing their lead even further.
I mean, the triple kill is huge, but the information given to you by those sonar goggles is almost as important there. I mean, Team Aix know exactly where all of Team Pac-Man are coming from. So, it's having a virtual sort of UAV on the enemy team for that period of time makes a huge difference. And you can see that now manifesting in this score lead, 161-83.
Trash talk was flying earlier. Let's hear how Team Aix is handling the showcase.
Oh, yeah, he jumped up. Yeah. All right, we can probably nade him out.
Got him out of hill, got him out of hill.
Nice. Far in front of us.
Oh, down the one alone.
I'm cutting the rest off.
We can point, Doug.
Out to there.
We should be good. They should all be spawning gold. All be spawning gold. We're good.
Yeah, Enable going for the Biovita boost sort of preemptively as he knows he's heading towards where the action is. Zumi gets cut down. I think he was actually still using the Purifier there, so Enable may not have realized just how much, he had sort of relieved his own potential stress moving into that situation. Aegis is going to be up for Crimsix here. The mag barrier placement is questionable, I guess, now as he tries to approach the point. It's weight of numbers. Azuma really trying to help him out. Unless the scattergun going to work inside the Aegis. It's absolutely disastrous if you run headlong into that.
You can see it is still like, how do you deal with it? You can throw nades underneath it if I'm not mistaken, so there is a chance to try to push off this player just a touch, but that was Team Pac-Man just running forward saying, we're just going to charge into the fray and see if we can take him down the hard way. Obviously it didn't quite work out because, like you mentioned, the scattergun does kill in one shot, and it almost kind of blossoms like a shotgun. It does take a lot of area away.
It's why sometimes in playtesting we've seen people take a dead set class and actually use that lockout ability to shut down those sort of like the Purifier or the Aegis and make them just basically just lights out on those abilities. So we'll see if that actually becomes a factor here. A good example, Pac-Man takes some shots from behind there as he tries to move in with the Purifier. He wants to try and control every point of ingress towards this zone. So far, not so bad. Again, about 61 points to try and make up here, so a lot of work to be done. That's the start that Team Pac-Man need, but Ace are so close to the finish line.
And where's the help there, right? You want to talk about things like manipulating spawns and stuff like that. I mean, the only minimap we've got is what you see in the top left with the radar, but it's just one of those situations that Team Ace, they're just there first with more numbers. So you talk about being able to overwhelm these ultras. You can do it without necessarily having to counter it with things like a lockout, and we're seeing a prime example of just the gun skill coming through, the team shots also neutralizing a lot of these power play attempts by Team Pac-Man.
195 and counting now. It's a long way to come back here if you are Team Pac-Man. We're on board once more with Enable. Trying to play these longer angles with the ACR. It gets the better of Zuma there. Again, the Biovita boost gives him an extra 20 HP. The durability enables him to win out the fight. He has that Ultra available now as well. Enable trying to make a late round run back here for Team Pac-Man, and he's taking on all comers.
Yeah, the Medico Supremo is unbelievably good when you're trying to set up holds like this. It gets you up to 200 HP, but that healing per second applies to all of your teammates as well, and a key reason why they were able to stave off that next approach, at least for a short time. Sensor still trying to clean up the scrap time of 22 seconds, has some help, and that will work out pretty nicely here. So yeah, we've got a 60-second cushion, but Team Pac-Man staying in this game late.
Yeah, not too bad. They haven't chewed up much of that deficit though, which is crucial. Sensor needs to make a big play here with these sonar goggles. Only 8 seconds left on this zone. Keeping Team Ace off it as much as possible is important, and Team Ace kind of know this. They're already sort of starting to rotate towards that next zone, which is indicated to the player, so you do know which one is coming up next.
And Sensor does use that sonar goggles to kind of clean up the trail away players. So now you should have numbers on this break attempt. Aegis will kind of lead the way back into this middle hut. And that will lead to some very significant time here. The clock will stop at 200 points here for Team Ace, while Pac-Man squad have used a lot of their ultras just to get back into this game. You have to hold a full 60. This is a difficult, hard point to do it in, simply due to the fact that they can be coming from anywhere.
Yeah, Aegis had to be used there to get Pac-Man and his team on the point for a time. They've managed to chew up the lead a little bit now, down to about 47 points. But Team Ace are starting to move back in numbers. Crimsic with 2, Slack with 2 as well, starting to cut their way through Team Pac-Man. Where are the rest of the reinforcements going to come from? Mag Barrier deployed, Crimsic's benefiting from the Libertad healing as well. Purifier pop, but Sensor's actually able to shut Zuma down once more.
Wow.
But that's the only kind of look in Team Pac-Man have here. So far, it's looking good for Team Ace to close out.
That's just so clean as far as who's the next man up, right? I mean, it's this sort of straight funnel of who's coming into the zone, but good kind of bounce back and forth, passing the baton, if you will, of who's going to stay in, who's going to back out and get their regen. And it leads to now almost a put-away game, trying to get to 250 points. 54 seconds also, I believe, on the game clock here if this were to kind of keep being contested. So a lot of advantages here for Team Ace to get on the scoreboard.
Yeah, you see Pac-Man quarters, he's trying to deploy the incendiary drone. Sensor looking to try and make his way over towards the point here, but that lead has started to billow out in a big way here. And you can see Team Ace there very much focused, very much dialed in these final moments. They know they pretty much got it. Crims has had an incredible map so far. He is really starting to fire up and has had a huge impact now. That is going to be a dominant Team Ace victory here on Pueblito.
Look, I might have been doubting, but Shift held the faith, and for good reason. Team Ace finally on the board. No 3-0 here for Team Pac-Man, because now Team Ace looking to close that deficit. And I mean, Uber, it seems like they really woke up. What exactly allowed them to do this? Because it wasn't a close game.
Yeah, okay, so I think this played out very differently to how the first 2 games did. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that this is Occupy, and I think the way you play around the map is very different. But I think Ace absolutely fried that map. He had a really difficult time on Zoo. He comes alive. Slacked has taken to this game like a fish to water, I think, in a big way. See him getting a lot of value out of his AoE healing available to the Libertad class around certain clusters in the map. And that's the kind of thing that enables someone like Ace to just to hang around at those gunfights a little bit longer, even if, his class, being Echelon doesn't have the same durability as some of the others. Really very impressed, and I think you can see Team Ace had a real plan every time there's a new hill spawning. They're there in advance. They have a lot of info from the sort of recon goggles. They can see people coming. I think Ace's Ultra in many of those sort of pre-hill situations was a ton of really important early info.
Well, I think case in point, I love that you just mentioned that, because Shift Ultra usage in general looked way better for Team Ace.
I think the word that I could use is it was proactively being used, whereas in our first 2 maps, it almost felt like oh, wait a second, we have these things that we could use. We may may as well throw them out there. This is a prime example of it. On a break attempt of a new zone, you've got Crim6 who, yeah, the mag barrier may not have been exactly efficient, but look at how he's able to help his team clear and then reinforce the zone by popping Aegis. And like we mentioned, it's difficult to deal with if you don't have a dead sec to lock you out of it and just completely counter. And you see the scattergun really shining with the double that he's able to, again, cement not just the rest of this time, but also kind of building a insurmountable cushion on the overall scoreboard.
Not only did the Ultras look better, but I think the synergy within the players on top of that. But that means we're ready to get into zone control on Midway for game number 4. A chance here for Team Aches to be able to even things up with Team Pac-Man and guarantee us games 5, 6, and potentially even 7. But first, we gotta go back to the players because we did actually ask them, now that they've got their hands on XDefiant, what they are liking about the game so far.
XDefiant. Well, let's just say it's a huge, huge, huge threat to all the devs, all the game developers, everyone that's making FPS shooters out there. This is going to sway a crowd that has been basically preaching about change your game this, change your game that, right? This is all their hopes and dreams.
Honestly, the best part about XDefiant to me is how fluid the game feels, the movement in the game, and just, it gives me an old school vibe that the old game used to give me. I feel like you're sliding around really fast, the gunplay is really fun, and it's just a new take on an old style of play that I really think that people will love.
Yeah, as a former pro, one thing I really like about the game is just how it looks. Very colorful, very easy to look at, and it just plays really well. I think the movement feels fluid and feels nice. The gunplay feels really good. So I'm really excited to get in and just play some games.
What caught my eye about XDefiant was Pat. He was the one who brought me onto it. He showed me more about it, and then when I started playing it, I was surprisingly interested. I actually thought it was a lot of fun. We did a couple of play tests online, and it blew my expectations out of the water. So I think playing on a LAN setup and playing with all my friends in real life is going to be a great time. It's going to be great competition, and I'm really looking forward to taking home this win for our team.
I've known these guys for a long time, and if there's one thing I know, they're very honest in what they say.
Sometimes too honest. Yes.
Sometimes too honest. But what I got from that is there's excitement there, right? And Uber, generally just a sense of enjoyment about what they were playing.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, for me, having sort of played and casted FPS games for a long time, there's been two distinct camps. One type of FPS game where it's all about gunplay and there's a lot of focus there and there's like a lot of fidelity, a lot of faithfulness to the, you know, the weapons of modern warfare, so to speak. And then another stream of games that's really focused on like abilities and team play and positional operation and that sort of arena vibe. XDefiant really brings those two together on a collision course for greatness. Not many games have been able to, you know, to bring those two sort of strands of FPS together and tie them in such a neat bow. So I'm not surprised to hear the players' reactions. I think I'm definitely in agreement. I think we're onto something here.
I think at the same rate, you're also seeing both elements of the game where it comes to gunplay and ability play both be changing towards win condition of any particular map or mode. So it's not one that you can just get away with doing one or doing the other. You kind of have to bring both of those elements to life, and seeing our players who, of course, as you mentioned at the top of the show, they're our highest pedigree of FPS gamers that are out there, now start to realize that, wait a second, these abilities are going to be key to kind of giving us a little bit of separation. They're picking it up very rapidly, and it's definitely changing how I think they're experiencing the game in real time.
Map to map, game to game, we are seeing them get more comfortable with those abilities and that gunplay, which means now it's time, an opportunity for Team Aches to tie things up 2-2 against Team Pac-Man. We're gonna head to zone control on Midway. Gentlemen, take it away.
Oh, it's gonna be a fun one. Zone control, the last unique game mode that will have multiple control points that will start to move forward, kind of like Escort with the package, but more importantly, for Team Aches, a chance to get us all knotted up at 2. Let's go, baby.
Team Pac-Man definitely shell-shocked after that last little start. A chance to break back in. So Team Pac-Man will be defending these points here. So zones A and B will be unlocked to start with. So Team Pac-Man have to split their resources and defend those pretty effectively. And already you see the lineup here. Pac-Man really gravitates towards the cleaners class here. Straight away with an incinerator drone. And he's going to try and come out behind that. Look at that. See the healing. Even through the Biovita boost, it's not enough. That's a 3-piece for Pac-Man as he completely reads Team Aches out off the break.
That's a clinic of cleaners right there. The incendiary drone off the start, but even using the SMG to get those incendiary rounds at close range to really add the burn effect. Unbelievable start, but a good bounce back off the re-break. Crimsix able to get over towards this first zone. That will lead towards progress. And again, these zones do capture faster depending on how many players are on it.
Mag barrier, insanely powerful in this part of the map. This is a pretty scary nade trap, though. You can actually nade this spot as defenders pretty comfortably here. So keep an eye on that for Team Pac-Man if they sort of know how to navigate this sort of situation. There was some healing being given there, but Crimsix still going to get brought down by JCap. It's going to be that point A still under intense scrutiny now, as Aches is going to be folding on in here, trying to take that over.
Yeah, and these ticks of progress will also kind of stay if you've gotten them to those different little individual checkpoints. So good focus here from the offense to not necessarily split their attention between both zones. Get the first, then make your move over towards the second. Give yourself a chance to see these extra zones start to open.
You tell that?
To the pistol, and he's not able to lock it. It is Crimsix. So the defense, even though they lose the first zone, they're bouncing back nicely off their next respawn.
Crimsix happy to give himself up there, though. He's holding 3 players of Team Pac-Man down on that part of the map. At that point, Team Pac-Man has to give up point A up for loss. There's no way they're going to be able to take it back here. Yeah, it's getting hot in here. Zuma, of course, going to be using that Molotov to bring Sensor down. And now that attention is going over towards that point B. And we'll start to see teammates head in that direction. Crimsix, the one really spearheading the charge, this time bringing up the rear, finding some key kills from the extremities here. Already 2 taken down, and that means that teammates can start to move in. I think they've already got that 1 tick on B.
Yeah, looking good for maybe even more than that as the kills continue to come through. And this is what you kind of expect with these opening zones. Yes, it can get really mixy. The scraps, the trades, they can go really back and forth, but still, the offense will spawn in a closer location than the defense for these first 2 zones, and you're seeing Crimsix right back into the action. B looking very plausible, pending they can finish off the final 2 eliminations, and that very well may be it right there. So now a chance to where the defenses start to lift things up as they get closer and closer towards their defensive spawns once this gets captured.
I'm going to say Crimsix has come alive over the last couple of maps. Pueblito was really started to see him get fired up, and now he's extending that trend. 2 points captured here for teammates, and now we'll have points C unlocked. It'll be just a 1 point for both teams to fight around for now. That's going to require them to move into this haunted house here in this middle part of the map.
Yeah, this is where things again, you see a very different look. I mean, we didn't get a lot of chance to look at Zoo, but on these longer, kind of more vertical maps, you start to see the dynamic of the map change between open spaces on some lanes versus close quarters combat in other ones as we get on in. Well popped. The Aegis will allow the capture zone to continue just to be soaked on up. Purifier, though, will counter, so how about that for a showcase on how to use Ultras?
Yeah, again, one of the few Ultras that can really answer that Aegis very effectively there. Crimsix really didn't know what hit him. Aches, though, wants to try and keep the pressure going here. Nade down that corridor, now wrapping back around to the point. Again, point C has very open sight lines around it. Digital ghillie suit used here as Aches wants to try and close the gap and maybe find a flank.
He's able to actually check out the other digital ghillie on the other side. So once again, showcasing that you may be a little bit harder to see, but you're not completely invisible. And now the sonar goggles just to completely block them off spawn. Just again, proactive gameplay from Aches, trying to make life difficult for the defenders. That will allow his team to stack on with 2 players, making further progress on the C zone.
Yeah, buying a ton of time here. Pac-Man really trying to make up for that lost time in working his way up this right-hand side.
Team synergy is everything in this moment. Let's take a peek to see how Pac-Man's going to come through it.
Yeah, yo, low left room, low left room.
Nice,
good job.
That's a backup more.
We can left room, or it's 3-3.
I spawned deep, gentlemen. Nice, good job.
Yeah. We get our back, push back spawn.
I'm mid.
Middle.
That's
Nice.
Sensor, sonar goggles out for him. Next one forward, try to keep the defense alive, and that's going to work out great off the reload. Should have this last player dead to rights, but there is a double stack, and that will actually allow to the C zone still being captured regardless of the goggle play.
Yeah, Sensor lining him up. Those Pac-Man, I think the other end of the pincer really putting that one up for his team, and now we have 2 more points open up towards the end of the map. So we move through this sort of longer area here, this sort of desert zone, and then back out the other side to the last 2 points that sort of need to be captured here. And again, how do Team Pac-Man sort of split their resources defensively over these 2 points.
And you have to make a lot of cognitive decisions when you're on the defense here of how far forward do we want to go? Because if you end up pushing way up to the offensive spawn doors and then dropping, it's very easy for the attacking team to get right on into these final 2 capture points. But the defense still feeling really solid here on the left side of the map, and rightfully so. Pac-Man continuing to melt players with these incendiary rounds. But the answer is there, and a chance for Slot to get the offense going on D.
Yeah, Axe is well able to find that kill on Pac-Man is pretty big. So pressure on D, pressure on E as well. Looks like 2 players on D, though, is really going to be the pain point for Team Pac-Man now as they need to try and find their way back in. JCap got to be cut down as he tries to approach here now. 3 players for this Team Aches on point D. And it seems like there's no hope now. The mag barrier going down. Is there a DedSec operator in a position to hack this, to flip this barrier? It looks like the answer is no.
And this is going to lead to 3 minutes and 17 seconds to get 1 final zone. I mean, Team Aches is really coming to life. The 4-man stack really playing off to rapidly put progress on towards D. So now it's on to the defense with just 1 zone to hold. Do you decide to bunker up around it, or do you find enough eliminations to kind of set the perimeter a couple steps further forward?
2 minutes and 55 seconds left in the round here. Now both teams know there's only 1 place that the attackers are going to turn up. You can see Enable here and Pac-Man trying to wrap around. He maybe catch some of the attackers on their way to the point, but this has gone horribly wrong. Crimsix able to find 2 quick kills. Aegis now available once more. He can just set himself up on this point E and be done with it, but instead he wants to wrap around and JCap's not ready for him. The Ultra's available, but Crimsix is still looking to slay.
You just got to get him out of the zone. That's it. You have to be able to find a way to healthily get him forward. There it is. The Aegis is popped. Progress starting to be made. Scatter gun out. Again, no one can get into this without immediately getting 1 shot killed unless there's some sort of an answer from a Purifier. But now all 4 members, they're inside the bubble. They're trying to take this the rest of the way home here, Uber.
Still 15% left on this Aegis now. Finally one comes out from Team Pac-Man. Crimsix now decides discretion, the better part of Valor for the time being. Trade's going back, but it's going to be Zuma cut down by Pac-Man, who wants to make his way forward. He has the Purifier available here, but it looks like the defenders have been able to buy themselves some time. 1 minute 57 left in the round as the attackers once more push back.
That's a great response, though. Aegis versus Aegis. You pop yours first. I'll wait for it to start to fade away. Then I'm in the mix. And now you look towards Pac-Man with the Purifier ready to go. Could he possibly keep the defense up and stop this last 2 ticks of progress from being locked in? The playthrough arcade looks solid, and that's going to open up the entire right side of the map for Pac-Man to play off a flank.
Sensor playing on the other side as well. He and Pac-Man combining admirably here on this defensive effort. Looks like Pac-Man spots someone who sneaks through on that left-hand side. Sonar goggles are in play. That's going to be dangerous. And that was Aches, of course, popping that one. He's looking to try and end the round here. 1 minute and 22 left. Looks like his target knew he was being hunted, but there wasn't much that JCap could have done about it. So once more, Aches will set up on point E.
And the response is really just, can Pac-Man get in? Can he get this Purifier to actually make a play so the defense can stop this little bit of progress? It's still being coming through. It's stacked up with 2 members, and it will be locked in. Full progress, 100%. Much better than we saw the escort from Team Aches.
Yeah, Team Aches looking a lot more comfortable as they make their way through this map. Crimsix is the anchor in this setup, and I don't mean he weighs them down. I mean, they really operate around him as the pivot. He sets up, he builds up these very quick Aegises. He's able to use mag barrier. Very, very hard to shift him out of position. And his aim with that M16, of course, very, very precise. Tough to challenge him at long range.
And now with 100% being captured, once again, we have to keep in mind what the clock is going to look like for the offensive side. Of course, goal 1, you have to try to finish the map. But most importantly, you have to do it within the time that is allotted, because Team Aches, they set the tone for what the stopwatch will be. Crim6 to the right side of the map, good control, at least initially, over the entire right side, but right off the spawn barriers, it's really easy to isolate, and good reactions out of Team Pac-Man.
Yeah, maybe slight overextension there from Crim6. He was maybe hoping that more players were heading to the other side of the map. Again, the incendiary drone thrown out by Pac-Man, so posthumously he's able to find that kill. But Sensor struts his way on towards point A, and that capture is about to begin. He's trying to extend a little bit further forward, and he's able to pick up Crim6 here, so that means no mag barrier from the defenders, and now we're going to see the cap begin.
Yeah, really well played here from Sensor, feeling the pressure. I mean, nades were coming in right on top of his head. He pops the digital ghillie suit just to try to extend the play as long as humanly possible. But the defense is still coming up aces right now. I mean, this is a very clean kill feed, back and forth, largely favoring the trades of the defenders, but still with the ability to very rapidly get back to the point. Team Pac-Man looking to try to get a little bit further progress done. Incendiary drone will clear one way, mag barrier to reinforce, and all you have to worry about is either the left lane or the right-sided pinch. And it looks like this will be the offense likely being able to capture the A zone. And yeah, with those final kills, it should be good as gold.
Yeah, a little bit scary. Slacked on a bit of a wrap here. He found 2 quick kills with Crimsix. Eventually, Pac-Man's going to get brought down. So a chance for the defenders to at least interfere with this capture. Sensor says, I actually need to move forward and take some space. I can't sit back here on the point or wait for one of my respawns to come in. And finding Crimsix there is pretty huge. Sensor pushing ahead, finding 2 kills now. With a minute 22 on the clock means that A is all for the taking.
And as you capture zones, you'll notice a minute 30 is added on to the overall clock. You see it kind of flashing there in the middle. It's already boosted back up to 2 minutes and 45 seconds with a quick transition, mind you, over towards B. So it doesn't get any easier from the defensive side. You have to feel like you're just continually on the front foot, trying to keep being proactive, keeping the offense away. And this set of kills looking solid. Crimsix back in to try to establish the defense just over the jump wall.
Yeah, again, just peeks up for a moment there. Spots one of those players here. This could be scary because Enable and JCap are finding success as they start to approach. And again, that's the Biovita boost there. Enable just overhealing as he makes his way into the point. It's too much for Crimsix.
And Slack may have to just try to chalk this one up and play for next. Teammates not really with him. Biovita is popped. This is more of a solo play, though, from Slack. Is he going to try to do it himself? Oh, why not?
Crimsix with the nade
through, and yeah, Crim's over the top, able to take down a further player. Aches also in the mix, so utility all coming through Aces all of a sudden once again for Team Aches.
That was some dirty nade work here. And now Team Aches know that they really just have to stack this left-hand side of the map with point A having already been taken. They do need to stay aware of potential flanks here, but they're in a strong position. Enable can't even bully his way in with that extra healing. Sensor goes very, very low. It's only Pac-Man elsewhere able to find that pickoff, but we're down to 90 seconds once more.
And you have to keep in mind, you kind of see it tallying up on the board here for Slack. He keeps getting these healing assists and these healing numbers that come through, even though he's not popping the Biovita boost. He's got his passive, the Espiritu de Libertad, which does provide a slow AoE heal. So his abilities just further that, and you're seeing exactly how strong this Libertad could be in the right moments.
Check the corner.
Oh gosh, you got to do it. Crimsix,
the
little camera breaker. Okay.
Call this man the slippery dip.
Crim. Just doing it all himself.
Man, the guy cannot be stopped again. Coming from some really unexpected angles. But Crim with the M16, by the way, so not exactly the weapon you want in these close quarters. No. Coming out from very unexpected angles here, and B still being held by the defenders. Crimsix a huge part of that, but he gets caught from behind.
50 seconds remain. Offense needs to get something going. Enable feeling the pressure. Will pop the Medico Supreme, but just finding some sort of hope and prayer, and they do at least allow that last bit of progress to be captured. So now back up to 2 minutes worth of time, where you've got to get over to a very dastardly zone. This C hard point is very difficult to hold on to. Like you mentioned, we saw it last time. It's wide out in the open. You need to see your Phantoms player really pop up with good mag barriers and possibly Aegis to try to lock this in.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it, right? Getting yourself a staging ground to start to make this attack when you're playing out in the open there. Crimsix doesn't have an opportunity to use his Ultra there. He's taken down, but he found 2 key kills. This paves the way for Slack to make his way forward. He also, of course, has his Ultra available with a lot of healing and that overshield essentially provided to teammates. So Ultra is almost all up for teammates. Now, how do they ration them through this next 90 seconds in order to stay on defense?
Well, the sonar goggles will be the first thing in. Just getting a read for where this break intent is coming through, and Aches has been so good with the sonar goggles. A full team wipe comes out, and that's enough for the defense to start to play forward on towards these mansion staircases, really trying to establish some trap here into the spawns of the attackers.
This is something we found in playtesting a lot, is that if defenders are able to push up far enough to play the top of the staircase, the angle really favors them. It's tough for attackers to make their way in. Grenades also get really punishing when they come from the defender side here. But Team Pac-Man's handled that better than we did. It looks like Crimsix is he's found his Aegis use now finally. He's going to make his way on towards the point here. We have a couple players for Pac-Man able to start this cap.
Uber, they're doing a lot of things better than you and I were doing in those play tests. But yeah, the progress looking solid. Second tick already done and dusted. Third on the way. Defense having a hard time breaking through the mag barrier. Again, you can see the strength of it, but eventually it will be destroyable. We have not mentioned that yet, but it does have a certain level of health.
The finite durability, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, crucial, of course, to bear that in mind here. But this point C attack has not gone well for Team Pac-Man so far. 20 seconds left in the round. Crimsix falling there could be huge, but Aches be able to take Sensor out of the mix here and then find Enable is big. Eventually, he's traded out, but Zuma's going to come in now and start to light them up. This is scary. The Purifier is finding its mark. Zuma with 2 kills in 7 seconds for the attackers to start this cap. It's not looking good for Team Pac-Man.
Not a kill still come through. That's a 3-for-1 trade. One more to find, and no. Overtime still going to be touch. So a chance for the offense to possibly extend this clock a little longer, but you have to stay on the zone. Pac-Man, the last one surviving, Uber, and he's just got to finish off this one tick of progress. It's going to be the Purifier trying to get it over the finish line.
I can't believe it. Pac-Man and the rest of his team now coming back in off the spawns could be huge, but Slack for 3. The nade is good. 2 shots down, and that is going to be a successful defense from Team Aches. Just when it looked like Pac-Man and co would have it, Team Aches fire back and end up taking 2 maps in a row.
We are all tied up 2-2, and this is looking like an excellent best of 7 so far. See, Chip, I wasn't even worried. I wasn't even worried, no doubts at all. But let's pull up those game results, because from what I gathered, Chip, it really just felt like the playmakers were Crim6 and Slack.
And they did it in their respective roles so darn beautifully, really highlighting how if you play a faction correctly, it can be a game changer. Slack able to pull 7,200 score, even though he only found 35 kills, which means to say that once again, his ability with that Libertad really helped his team stay alive through a lot of those key fights, and it allows Crim6 a chance to get set up, use that mag barrier, and then be able to pop things with game-saving Aegises and stuff like that. Brilliant play between the two of them.
It's that capture time as well that really gives Slack a lot of points. Crim also did some absolutely dirty things there, illegal in the state of Nevada, I should suspect, on defense. So really, really impressive stuff from them.
Well, and I think that too, we talked about, right, Uber, the importance of positioning in a mode like zone control, and it just felt like throughout Team Aches had that locked down so much better.
Yeah, positioning was pretty crucial when it comes to playing around mag barriers and stuff like this. You know what's also important? Beating the crap out of your opponents. This is a great example of that. So this is sonar goggles used here from Aches. Now, you're defending, you're pushing up to C, you want to establish a neutral staging ground where you can maybe even start to push ahead and use like a really, a high ground advantage. So this is how Aches does it. Notice the bullet count. 1 bullet left, absolutely breaks the ankles there of a sensor, I think it was. And then look at him now. Take position up at the top of these stairs, so he's pushed well forward. This is actually quite close to the attacker's spawn on this phase of the map, but he really makes use of the fact that the banisters here, he can play around that quite safely. Zoom is also backing him up in that position, so that play buys you 30 seconds for the attackers, not only to get through Aches and Zuma, and then start to approach that point C, and that's why we saw the clock get so thin towards the end.
And that play was made when we only had a minute and a half left, so you're gonna tell me that I'm stuck in spawn with 60 seconds to capture a full zone? Yeah, it's really good proactive gameplay again, and that's where we're really seeing Aches pop off of that sonar goggles, just reading intel and making sure that he's able to punish essentially single-handedly.
But that's what I'm saying, the positioning is so crucial, and it's what got Aches' team into that position, but then you have this moment of individual agency where you're Aches, you have your ultra, and you go absolutely hog wild with it and put your team in a power play position.
Well, a power play position could be what we see out of Team Pac-Man, because coming up next in the schedule is actually the very first game mode we started off with. It's going to be domination on Echelon HQ this time around. We saw it initially. Team Pac-Man had a very comfortable win to kick things off. And we've had back-to-backs. Team Pac-Man maps 1 and 2, Team Aches maps 3 and 4. So Uber, is this the moment? Pac-Man, are we swinging back their way?
Well, if they're going to win this next map, they need to rely on a few things. First of all, Sense has been consistently very good over this whole series, playing SMG, basically just solo MP7 the entire time. So keep letting him run wild, do his thing, and then play around that combo of Pac-Man and JCap in the middle part of the map. That's what was so big on Noodleplex, right? You have the one player as a Phantom setting up the mag barriers, and then Pac-Man on his favorite cleaner class, moving up, setting up a lot of the incendiary fields with the drone and closing the gap. That was their key to success in that first map. Hopefully they can find it again.
And I think on top of that, you talk about things like setting yourself up in power positions. You're going to see the ability to kind of work between your two quote-unquote home flags, possibly favor that of like a good magsec barrier on top of the SMG who's running the incendiary rounds. We're not seeing that on the other side. Yep. So there may be some conversations about who's going to run what if we're going to see maybe a possible bounce back for Team Aches on a game mode that they got absolutely blown out of the water on.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't close the first time, but Echelon HQ an opportunity for Team Aches to take the lead for the very first time, but we'll have to see if Team Pac-Man can answer back and make it a 3-2 scoreline.
That's right, Katie. The series is tied up 2-2, but it's been a bit of a drought for Team Pac-Man. A chance to strike back, a chance to get themselves back in the lead and on the way to closing out the series. Our 5th map is going to be Echelon HQ. We're back to domination.
And I have to take a moment and just point everyone's attention to how different all these maps aesthetically look. This one very dark, very cool and mysterious, kind of matching up with the Echelon class, that kind of Splinter Cell vibe, coming right off of a very open, very colorful, very playful map. So it's just really cool to see the variety that we're getting between all of these maps, let alone the modes that they're playing them on.
And this is the kind of map for your home flags. It's pretty hard to take your opponent's home flag.
Correct.
It's a very long flank and you're very close to their spawn. So a lot of this round will be fought over this central part of the map. Now there are a couple, there's actually a tunnel to the top right there. So you can actually come at this room from a level above, which can be unexpected for defenders that are sort of set up there. But it's dangerous to stay too long on that point. You want to cap it and you want to move up. You want to push up to the enemy home flag and box them in that part of the map.
Especially when you've got Pac-Man running great incendiary drones. We're seeing nades find a lot of value lately. So yeah, just don't put yourself into the smallest room that you could possibly find yourself in. And now we take a look. How about this? Enable's actually going to move over in towards the opponent's flag, cut down on his rotation, but a little bit of early pressure here and a chance for Team Pac-Man to really build their lead with this two-flag setup.
Yeah, this is the start they're looking for now. And again, there's so much pressure. I mean, the fact that, Sense is finding this kind of success means he can actually move in on towards A and start to cap that. Ace has to do something about this quickly. This is going horribly wrong for Team Ace, excuse me. Eventually, they're able to find their footing. But this means that Team Ace are no closer to capturing B than they were at the start of the round.
Solo play from Slack though. BioVito is going to be popped. That's an opportunity to clear the zone and maybe even fully flip it if you can find more eliminations. How about this? Slack puts down the M16 into a weapon class that we are more used to seeing him on and essentially does it for his team by himself. Now all of a sudden an AB setup and a chance to start accruing 2 points every second to dig on into this lead.
And there's no reason not to push off of B and start to play aggressively here. XDefiant is a fast-paced game. If you sort of get caught on flat feet, you're going to get absolutely demolished. So you see both teams trying to make use of how dynamic a shooter this is. Still a pretty comfortable lead here for Team Pac-Man as they start to move back in control. And now Sensor is the one that's leading the charge. Consistent all series. Someone that Pac-Man's team has to rely on here to get in the enemy team's face, to hold them up and to find some multi-kills.
Man, Pac is just different with this sub. He is absolutely shredding anyone who steps in front of his way, even players at distance. There's that little tick of the incendiary rounds. Again, just furthering a little bit of damage, pushing off teammates just a little bit further back, but Crim from the high ground takes an opening double, and now right back onto the B zone. This is the definition of a tug of war over this B zone. It's just Team Pac-Man have built such a sizable lead early.
Yeah, again, that early sort of 50-point lead is now turned into a 90-point lead. A great nade there from Crimsix, catches JCap as he tries to approach the point, and Slack is pushed ahead. So you have Crimsix and Zuma sit here playing around the point. Of course, Crimsix again on his favorite fandom class, I have to assume. And it's only been Sensor in the last couple of moments for Team Pac-Man that's been able to do anything. It's all about Team Ace. They're clawing back this lead.
Oh, they're just getting them one by one all of a sudden. This is an opportunity with favorable trades, plus a team nade, a self-nade actually out of JCap, to maybe even put a little influence onto the C flag, maybe even triple cap here. But this is what we see. I mean, this guy's got a lot of experience playing throughout this game mode. Doesn't want to take it a step too far. Just keep our 2-zone advantage and get this game back to level.
Great point. Crimsix not overextending there. We actually saw it happen, I think, briefly on one of the previous maps. He overextended a little bit too far. It seems like now he's really playing quite safe and holding it down with that AR at longer range. Speaking of which, Ake's now trying to make his way back in, but Sensor has popped that Ultra. Now Sonar Goggle's going to give a chance here for Pac-Man's team to get back in. They still have a bit of a lead to work with. It was cut down to about half. Ooh. Sensor trying to get inside that Aegis barrier, and it almost worked out, but Zuma was there to cover his teammate.
A little Aegis on Aegis Axon coming over the B zone. Pac-Man with the incendiary drone may have turned the tide just enough. 330 to 282 the score, still 55 seconds in this half. Remember, again, we said this at the very first map, you cannot take a charged Ultra into the next round, so expect some fireworks here in the last 45 seconds.
Absolutely. Here is Ace coming off the break here. Someone who you expect to now make use of that Ultra. 40 seconds left in the round, and getting Sonar Goggles here able to make his way around, know where his opponents are, so we can have a safe flank would be great, but he's caught by that incendiary passive. The rounds burn him down. Enable trying to push onto the point, and now, of course, with that Ultra, so much healing, it's so hard to break through. It makes him ultra durable.
The Medico Supremo, just unbelievably resilient in the final moments. Currently 399 to 322. Advantage over to enable the rest of Team Pac-Man in the final 12 seconds. Not the same cushion we saw in map number 1 here, Uber, but this last little rally in the last 45 seconds once again puts a little bit of pressure on the Team Eggs as we swap the side.
It was a 90-point lead for Team Pac-Man. They got shrunk down to about 40. That has now blown out just a little bit more again. Team Pac-Man able to recover in the second part of that half. So Team Ace have to start on the front foot here.
Yeah.
It has to be an absolute blazing break off of spawn on towards that point B. What a play by Team Ace. You've got to imagine they're talking it up in the comms. So let's go take a listen.
I'm nading it right away. Popping off. Naded it.
I got one.
They're all weak. They're weak. They're on it. I got one.
One more behind. They're really weak.
I got nine.
Three.
I got
Hold it.
Come on, fast. If you guys got hit
nades on us.
Cook them right now.
I don't have any.
Slacked as well, just going to top his teammates up here. Again, not super necessary to go for that right now as Team Pac-Man all got just dominated. Coming back off the spawn now, Pac-Man with the Vector trying to cause some problems on the periphery here. But Zuma was actually able to bring down JCat with that Molotov. That is huge, and this is what teammates needed to make their way back in.
Just have to keep this little cushion here. Just keep the zone away. Try to force Team Pac-Man to have to come through these tight alleyways. And it's working out beautifully for the subs of Team Ace. Once again, clawing their way back in. Every second is good for 2 points, down to a 426 to 489 lead. And the kills keep on coming, and they're not stopped coming. Just got to find a way to get together. This is so individual from Team Pac-Man, and Crimsix seems to think he has got an opportunity maybe get on the A flag.
Again, less interested in capturing the home base for Team Pac-Man and more about just backstabbing a lot of the players from Pac-Man squad trying to make their way around towards B. A lot of time got bought there, and you can see this lead has shrunk considerably as a result now, down to about 40 points between these two teams. Slacked absolutely dominating, holding it down. You see, he's just standing outside of that tunnel so he can go and contest B in a pinch if he has to. Eventually brought down by JCat for 2.
Yeah, the SMG gameplay from Team Ace is just so much better.
Oh!
Whoa!
Oh, dear.
Is that a little shout out to Clay off the map? Oh, boy, no, we did not just see that live in action. I'm sure that will be clipped and shipped, Doug. I apologize, but that's just the way it goes.
Despite that, 4 kills come out from Team Pac-Man. So they've actually found themselves in a position now to really start to pressure point B down. Coming in from the top rope is Aches with the RKO, and now he's set up on point. Enable falls, trying to find yet another kill, and Sensor will be the second. Aches makes the play and puts his team back in striking distance once more. Under 3 minutes left in the round, and that gap continues to shrink.
And our first set of Ultras should be about charged at this point. So who's going to turn the tide here? If your Team Aches, can you just continue to establish this dominance in front of Pac-Man spawn? Whereas on the other side, what do you spend here if you're Team Pac-Man to try to get back into the middle of the map? Clean shots coming through, and you may not need the Ultras. It's looking like the kills are going to be good enough to allow Team Pac-Man a chance to try to get back on towards this B flag, pending they can get the last bit needed to get through that last little hurdle.
6 points apart now. Team Pac-Man able to just increase the lead a little bit, but it got awfully close for a moment there. 2 minutes, 9 seconds left in the round. This one's got to be much closer than the last time we saw domination. It's time for Aches to come alive once more. Sonar goggles pop. First kill is good. He's found a second as well. He knows Pac-Man's coming his way, so he makes it 3. Here's where Team Ace start to really get rolling. That's 4 kills for the man on your screen. 2-time world champion. This guy ain't nothing to sneer at.
And Aches could just continue to say, hey, look at me, I'm on your home flag, and this just keeps Team Pac-Man at bay. You do not want to lose this home flag, not now with 1:40 left in the clock. But the kills come through as soon as they jump off the respawn. Biovita pop, and a chance to get on with a 3-man stack. Magsec barrier here to reinforce, and we're going to get a flip at the B flag.
I will say, despite the heroics there from Aches, it took a long time for his team to secure that B point. Team Pac-Man coming in, causing problems now. It's actually forced Zuma to go for that Ultra. The Purifier being used now to clear the way.
That's just absolutely beautiful. Did not expect, I mean, the Magsec barrier was just about to expire. I don't know if Zuma was planning on that timing, but regardless, you take it. It works out absolutely flawlessly for them, and now a chance for them to grow their lead to about 50 points. 60 seconds on the clock. Have to make something happen here for Team Pac-Man, and they're going to have the Aegis barrier to try to reinforce and get this zone back. Still a chance to come back into this deficit.
They've definitely fallen behind, though. Team Aches, especially led by their captain's heroics, have put themselves in pole position. Good timing there. Aches actually looking to pull a frag grenade, and it was left upon there by Pac-Man. Slacked and Aches now really starting to combine for some huge kills, and that's going to make the woes even worse for Team Pac-Man. who needs to make his way over towards the point now. 747, 705. Aegis not going to be enough to protect Crim6 there from the Purifier. Pac-Man lights him up again.
They're going to need a third flag here, though. I don't know if anyone's doing the math. 30 seconds left. You're going to need to get a little bit of capture, I think, for a triple cap to fully come back into this. Yeah, the gap is just underneath 30 points, so you've got to get the triple cap. Here comes the play forward. Pac-Man, the one leading the way.
Pac-Man knows it's up to him to start up a triple cap. That's the only way his team is going to be able to catch up, and so far, not so bad. JCap going to be joining him here on the point for a time. Slacks and Co. going to try and come and interfere with this, but it might have been enough.
Yeah, they don't get the full capture, but they stop the ticks from happening because they're able to neutralize the zone. It's down to the final 2 seconds, and Pac-Man's team is able to do just enough to stop Team Aches from getting over the hurdle. Oh, what a bounce back. That was as tight as we've seen it, in the last final play that comes through was the difference maker. A 4-point gap. It doesn't get any closer than that.
Split-second decisions make all the difference. Team Aches just seconds away from finally being able to take the lead. Dashed by Team Pac-Man. They got the first domination, Uber. They get the second domination. This one, though, much tighter.
Yeah, this is big. Remember, at the start of this, I said one of the keys to victory is JCap and Pac-Man working together. Look at Pac-Man's assists. 24 assists. That is absolutely bonkers, and that's a big part of why he finds himself up there at the top of the scoreboard. A lot of that has to do with creating a safe zone to play out of. Pac-Man is playing from inside the Aegis. He's playing from behind the mag barriers. Sensor's playing the extremities. Again, just being a bit of a lone wolf and causing a lot of disruption. It was a big deal, but again, a very close game, and again, some pretty big brain moments at the end there for Pac-Man. I think who made the call to go for a bit of a home cap.
I mean, it's been a minute since we've seen like true competitive domination against the clock. You have to constantly do math, though. I mean, when you're dealing with 60 seconds left and you're down 70 points, you better have someone who can make the quick call saying, wait a second, we need to get that
Never
third
asked
zone.
me to do that.
But yeah, I think that's like something I want to like look at in this replay, because I want to talk about what the lead is made of right at the start of that round. Sensor, someone I brought up at the start of the game, as being pretty crucial for disrupting a lot of these players trying to play forward. And this kind of leads into our discussion about how Team Pac-Man were able to win. So you see here, right, it's a double cap here for Team Pac-Man, but that's not enough for them. They actually move on to the point, they take it away from Team Aches, and during that time, Team Aches are not getting any points at all. That is huge.
Any point that you're clearing the zone, it doesn't have to go fully neutral. This is, as long as you're clearing it.
You don't have to control it even.
Exactly. Yeah. That will stop progress. You're not getting the third straight tick of it. Like, you're still gonna have to fully capture it to earn another point added. But when you're sitting there and you're able to at least start clearing, it does stop the progress. We saw that 2 different key moments there for Team Pac-Man, which gave them that 4-point cushion.
And like you said, it was like a 70-point lead with 60 seconds left in the round. So I think Pac-Man knows we need to at least stop them from getting points for 10 seconds or whatever it was. And that's why it ended up being so darn close. But a great call. That is in-game leading at its best right there.
Yeah, and again, right, Pac-Man and Aches are going to have the most time here in XDefiant. So I think it is going to be some of those decision-making moments from the team captains that are really going to help push their team over the edge. But let's pull up that schedule, because so far we could potentially be on course for what happened in the first 2 games, because we are going back to an escort on Meltdown this time. And Team Pac-Man, they were able to win it on Zoo the last time around. So, I mean, are we worried here for Team Aches shift? Do we have any concerns, or do you think maybe they can even it up once again? Because this is the whole thing. If Team Pac-Man takes this, it's over.
I'm a little worried, just simply due to the fact they only got like 26% done last time we saw it. That is just
not great. Room for improvement.
It's very bad. It's very bad. And who knows? We could be looking at a situation here where I forgot one of the key mantras towards this matchup. No Doug, no dub. So who's to say that you don't get this same domination on Escort again?
Again, very different map, right? I think Zoo has like those long sight lines, which I think was really hard for the attackers to overcome. Meltdown, as you'll see, has some really interesting parts of the map where the fighting gets a little bit closer, and hopefully we get to see the package make some advancements through the map. But I think there's no easy wins from this point out. I think both teams have acclimated well to each other. Now it's just going to be pure gun skill, pure brain power, and calling to take the win, Katie.
And well, you guys have a chance to win too, because it's not just the players who can play XDefiant right now, it could be you as well. Because by watching this stream or partner channels streaming the beta, you get a chance to claim closed beta access. And if you registered previously, please do check your email because some invites have already been sent out. As always, you can register at playxdefiant.com for a chance at access. But this is the very first time Ubisoft's game has no NDA, so stick around to see how these players play out the final 2 maps, potentially just the 6th map, if Team Pac-Man can get it done, and we'll see if they can do just that. It's time for Escort on Meltdown.
Oh, like you mentioned here, Rupert, this is a very different style of map, but I'm just hoping Carlos gets a chance to stretch the old legs and actually see some of it. A must-win situation from Team Aches. And once more, we ask the question, can they find a way to make the corrections needed to actually see this map go the distance like we just got out of in map 5?
At this point, I'm convinced this is scripted, to be honest with you. I'm expecting a map 7 just for no other reason than it makes for a great story here. Your defenders, to start with here, it's going to be Team Pac-Man by the looks of things. Now, there's some really nasty spots to defend from that we can talk about as we see them. The defenders actually start where they can play on the top of this causeway, this railing.
Yeah.
That, to start with, is pretty hard for defenders to get on because it's just like an angle disadvantage they have here. And it looks like we're going to have a mag barrier set up on the right-hand side.
This is probably the most elevation-based map that we've seen so far when it comes to playing around verticality and things of the nature. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really key to see how many ARs people are going to bring out and how they want to use them. Already a different look here for Zuma out of spawn with the ACR, and it's worked out beautifully. This is a great break-off for Team Aches.
Yeah, interesting defensive positions. I actually don't think we saw Team Pac-Man make use of high ground at all. I'm curious to see if Aches goes to the spot that he was abusing incessantly in playtest. There's like a spot on a crane where it's very, very hard for defenders to sort of shoot you out of that spot if you get there as an attacker. It's really just like the top of your head that gets shown here. But you see now that, again, the package is going to be advancing towards that warehouse, and the warehouse has balconies which the defenders can sort of, they get that high ground by default. So it's still not that easy to fight into, but so far Team Pac-Man's starting to establish some hold, and yep, Aches is going to the crane spot. You dirty man.
This is disgusting. I mean, the amount of little head glitches like this that you can just post up with an ACR or for Slack's Accord, probably an M16. Not fun to deal with at all. Digital Ghillie suit out. Trades will come through. Clean kill feed. 3 for 1 the exchange. And this is going to lead to Team Aches getting on with multiple members. They may see more percentage earned here in the first 45 seconds than they did in the entire second map we play.
Nicely done by Crim6 there. Pac-Man barely has a chance to peek his head out before he gets a hole blown through the front of it. Crim6 there taking some shots as well, but the trade's good. The nade is going to be there. Jacob able to go 2 for 1 though, but Slack will be bringing up the rear now, heading back towards the package and getting it to keep on moving. Enable pops the Biovita boost preemptively as he peeks out, and that ends up being the right answer. He's able to find that 1 versus 1 against Slack and goes in his favor.
Yeah, and this is one of those moments where if you're the defense, you don't want to be complacent sitting on that little cubby hole that you just saw because it's very nadeable just to bank them off the top ropes and get doubles. So this is a great inactive play from Enable, getting forward, taking away space, and that's going to allow this retreat to possibly still come through on Carlos. 5 seconds until it starts moving backwards.
Defenders can make use of this crane spot as well. It's a little more exposed, but there is you are obscured a little bit by the boom arm of it. So Enable doesn't opt to go there, but he's almost using it as a trap, like waiting for the attackers to try and re-establish that position and catch them out. Again, the package is retreating 27.6%, and that's about as far as it's getting for the time being. So Aches and Co now need to, I guess, recommit to this sort of assault. They're going to nade that high ground. Aches is going to push up, though, here and try and play from this lower angle.
Just stop them from even peeking over towards this, as it's going to be double stacked up and try to get this payload a little bit faster. And there it is, the first tick of progress, able to come through. That's going to move the spawns around as well. So if you're the defense, you have to be very careful about how you want to try to position around this contest, because you don't want to be stuck essentially taking spawn fights right in front of the offense popping up.
Virtually a full reset though here for Team Aches. They got wiped there. That was Pac and Crim, I think, combining really nicely, both from high and low ground respectively. Aches now is wise to the fact that someone might be wrapping around behind him here. Your Pac-Man, he's trying to get behind Aches and make it hard for him to establish this little head box position, we'll call it. But the package has made its advancements here, 34.7%. We have a time extension now, under 2 minutes to go, as this package will be getting towards the warehouse.
Oh, it actually didn't fully open the door, so now it gets there. Okay, so I thought they had gotten there the last time through, but it's not until you start to see that interaction. Another part of the map will start to open up. Still in contest, the defense really trying to fight for every last inch of this, but Carlos will make its way through the warehouse doors, and now this is where things start to reset, where the defense will have to kind of pick and choose if they want to pull up these balconies or not.
So now you're dealing with some fairly tight, winding corridors here. This is where those mag barriers, like we saw deployed there, are going to be extra important. You can play from the high ground to some degree, but there's a lot of cover that the attackers can use as they slowly advance through this stage of the map. And remember, 3 players on the package mean that old mate Carlos, he's sprinting.
This is, I mean, the Aegis that's get popped for the offense, it just allows everyone to just get inside and force this payload to move very rapidly. I mean, this is as clean as we've seen. Finally, Pac-Man's able to single-handedly take back some positioning. But that was a costly push from Team Aches, and now it kind of puts a little bit of extra pressure on Team Pac-Man to hold longer. There's still 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go on the clock. A chance now to listen in with Team Pac-Man as they talk through this play.
On point, Pat, with this all nice. That's good.
Behind me on the right with shields. He's on the thing.
Shield
out. In our spawn.
I have my heal on 5.
You gotta kill him off. I can't stop that guy.
We crimmed to the right.
I got him.
3 dead.
Nice. Can you heal us?
I didn't get it. Yeah, I did.
And there's the Aegis also earned up as JCap continues to reap through the middle of the map. So all of a sudden, the defense doing what was required. Aches, sonar goggles at the ready. Keep in mind, he can pop this, and that lockout can counter. He sees the defensive Aegis. He just runs around the outside. This is a very heads-up play. Just trying to stop any reinforcements from coming through, and that's exactly what the call is going to be. Crimson moving forward. He's able to take care of the sonar goggles on the opposite side, and the offense capitalizes on a 3-for-1 trade.
Remember, the Aegis player can't shoot outside of their own bubble. They require a teammate to do that. So if you just ignore that player, work down their teammates around the periphery, you essentially nullify the effectiveness of that Aegis. Now, we're very close to another checkpoint here. The package has really been starting to make some big leaps and strides across the map, and Aches now wants to try and command the high ground.
Looking good for it. I mean, he's in a really good position to, even if he's not finding kills, scout out information and transmit information to his teammates. Medico Supremo at the ready for Slack in case there is a last-second contest. But the kills just keep coming through very easily as the offense nearly gets it done right there in the last spree. Zuma, the last one left, will eventually be taken down, and the defense will hold, at least for now.
Yeah, Crimsix there as well. I think it was his own nade that came bouncing back at him. But he again is able to establish this high ground position, work his way through JCap and Sensor, and there's now a chance here for the attackers to make the way towards this next checkpoint now. The package is on the move here, and Crimsix is going to hide behind it. That's the time extension. Under 4 minutes left, but plenty to work with now as we head into the last phase of the map.
Yeah, the follow-up kills for the defense just are not here in time. So now you're stuck. I mean, the offense is spawning right where you just collected a full team wipe, and it's just essentially trades at this point. I mean, the kills really don't matter at this point in time really so much for the defense. It's just all about trying to stay alive and kill extra seconds off the clock, which they're unable to do. So once again, the package on the move. Still, a lot of tight corridors to go through here, but I think the biggest part about this is a lot of our ultras have been spent already. So how do you get this defense set up for your Team Pac-Man?
Flashbang comes in there, Pat. I mean, you saw Aches there actually pops his digital ghillie suit and sort of stays still. So he actually isn't going to be taken down despite getting full flashed in that moment, which is pretty ridiculous. JCap again doubling down. He's had a fantastic round. When the defense has been firing up, it's more often than not been him leading the charge. Here's a Medico Supremo now used by Slack, so going to use that preemptively here. Crimsix also popping the Aegis, so combining these powerful abilities, but Crimsix now has no one to stand inside this Aegis and fire out of it.
Oh, there's the disruptor that comes through. The lockout finally gets into play, so it immediately shuts down the Aegis, but the kills just are not there to take advantage of it. So even though the Aegis is popped away, and even further, the lockout will keep you from using any abilities, there's just no eliminations. The stack is still here, and the chance for Team Aches to get it to 100% so much better than we saw him last time.
We've been talking about this all day, waiting to see a player with a DedSec operator shut down an Aegis with that ability. But again, it takes more than that, right? Eventually, when the abilities are gone, you are left with, having to deliver in terms of gunplay. And Team Aches had that in spades. Aches drops a cheeky 3-piece towards the end of that round, and that really gets them over the line. So they'll be happy getting the map done with what had to be like 3 minutes plus of time.
Yeah.
It's going to stand them in good stead here to even the series up at 3 apiece.
I think it said 7 minutes and 15 seconds was the time to beat, which is not the fastest we've ever seen, but there was that second and third leg of action where it felt like the payload never stopped moving. So there is a lot to kind of measure yourself against if you're Team Pac-Man on this offensive attempt. MagSec Barrier gets them out of spawn, and the kills are there to follow. So a good start on their initial break-off, getting on towards Carlos to get it moving.
It's been great off the rip here for Team Pac-Man, but the difference is now, Aches knows he needs to control this high ground to some degree, so he's able to use that pretty effectively there, finding JCap, and again, wants to continue to make use of this causeway, shoot down towards the package, has a distinct advantage in doing so here, but he doesn't have a heal on nearby, and he's down to 22, so he needs to take his time, but finds an enable there. That's 2 down for Aches, and he wants more. He's hungry!
Oh my gosh, and he's also made the swap, mind you, between factions. He was running the Echelon last time. He's on the DedSec from the defensive side. So one conversation we have not had a lot of is which factions are better on which sides. We're starting to see some early conversations towards DedSec defensively being a major option when it comes to not just the lockout, but also being able to hijack things like those MagSec barriers and turning sides for it, so to speak.
Yeah, only 6.9% of progress so far. Bot actually starting to move back in the wrong direction, enable Ops to check the flanks before returning to start moving this package on forward, but finding those 2 kills is pretty big. This is really going to start to spearhead this push here from Team Pac-Man. They've got a lot of ground to make up.
They're doing well, though. I think the discipline is really well established here from Team Pac-Man. It's not just look at the objective, push the objective. It's all about controlling the space around the outside, especially with how this high ground can form against you. And the kills do come through relatively cleanly. Enable, one of the last ones left, though, has to keep his life, wait for a little bit of help. File B to pop, next fight ensues, but it's Slacked on the other side to send it right back this direction.
Both players popped the heals there. Slack definitely had the range, and Zuma didn't realize that the cat was out of the bag there. Pac-Man could see him through the digital ghillie suit as he was sort of moving rather slowly, but moving all the same. Now Pac-Man gonna try to set up in that oppressive position, but Ace kind of sees through it because both those players know the spots pretty well, and they've been using them against each other for quite some time now. I think over a year for both of them, sort of working on this title, getting this game looking as good as it does.
And trust me, they play this game a lot when they get the chance to get on board and just feel it out. And the adjustments that we've already seen since the initial testing to now are just unbelievable. And you can see the players are all locked in. This is more than just testing out a game right now. They want this win. Defense trying to hold Carlos away from the doors, and so far so good. Even going to push a little bit beyond the package to make sure they can really just, again, put pressure on the clock. Every second matters for them.
So Slack really trying to use the mathematical advantage in many of these spots here. Playing very long range with the M16, also just popping their Biovita boost, making sure he has 120 HP. Puts him in a great spot to win a lot of the gunfights when they're at his optimal range. Something to bear in mind now is you'll see him again to try and back up and assume those similar positions. Again, goes into the fight with the heal. At least he's able to get the trade. Aches is going to be there though. Pac-Man now heading back towards the package here. He wants to try and get this time extension under 2 minutes left.
He's got a teammate with him.
Huge
will land. Does it get all the way to the checkpoint though? Yes, it does. Extend the clock now to 4 minutes and 10 seconds for them to play. This is already good. I mean, it's not just the fact they get it to the checkpoint. They find 3 quick kills out of the defense immediately upon getting it over the line. So a chance to take a lot of space in front of this door to get some free progress to Carlos.
Yeah, that'll happen, right? The defenders get front spawned. They ended up just sort of spawning before the checkpoint comes up, so they have a further forward spawn. It means they're split up, and it means they're sort of a long way from some of that defensive architecture they caught out in the open pretty frequently. Slack there again, fighting 2, again getting a lot of value at long range with that M16.
Wow.
Enable wants to reciprocate though, and he's found 2 of his own. The bot now really starting to get going. Medico Supremo popped instantly. 220 HP for that Moan for Enable is huge. And again, his teammates will be benefiting from that passive healing if there is a gunfight.
There is something to be said, and I know this is just an opening showcase, but was that pop too early? There is no defenders nearby, and the channel of it has expired before the fight comes through. And 3 straight defensive kills are right there. So again, you have to be efficient with these ultra usages, and that may have been an example of maybe not exactly executing perfectly towards actually using Medico Supremo.
Yeah, his team's actually protected by a mag barrier at the time, so you don't even benefit from that amplified passive area of effects healing. JCap here has been sitting in the background playing pretty long sight lines again. The bot's been unattended for a time, so the package now will start to saunter backwards. That's not how Boston Dynamics designed them, I don't think, but that's fair enough. And of course here, Sensor getting some value there, of course, with those sonar goggles.
Hey man, they designed them to do multiple things.
They do some scary things. I've seen those videos. They do too many things.
I think if anything, we want to see them start retreating just based on that.
I like them to regress to being more like 30s. You know what I mean? I feel more comfortable with that.
But it does start getting on its way. Here's the lockout from Aches. Right back in towards the tunnels. This will be the time for the defense to start to move very aggressively, and so they will. 3 for 2, the exchange, one more to find, quickly contested, and that's enough for full clearance around the objective as the defense moves forward.
Potentially this is pretty big here. Crimsix had a chance to establish some really nice lines. Enable just playing from the high grounds, able to take him down. Aches almost gets caught out by another player there as well, but he gets a better Pac-Man who kind of runs straight at him. And now we're going to see the spider bot being deployed there. That's going to be a bit of fun. We'll see if there's anything to be gotten there for Aches. But again, it'll give him some information if it latches onto an enemy.
I think that's the biggest reason for using it, is it kind of controls a lane for you while you can focus otherwise on different positions. So it's a cool way to kind of clear a space without necessarily having to watch it.
I mean, DedSec is such a sick class because
it's cool.
We're talking about the spider bot, but also whenever you throw a grenade, you have a fabricator that literally like 3D prints you another one.
Yep.
So other classes like use the lethal and they don't have it, but you can just get it back after like 10 or so seconds. It's actually insane.
Yeah, it's a really cool class, and I'm glad that we're starting to see it a little bit more on display. It just comes down to where is it best utilized, because the hijack only goes on cooldown when you've successfully hijacked an enemy deployable. So you'll have it up pretty much all the time until you successfully capitalize. And speaking of that, how about JCap? Right off a spawn, needs to find space, and is able to do so. Package is retreating at the moment. 60 seconds to play before Pac-Man's team sees the clock expire, and we'll go to a map 7 if that happens.
Might be up to JCap at this rate if Team Pac-Man are going to advance the way they need to here, because Slacked and Aches are starting to cut them down there. Basically a team wipe there as Team Pac-Man were not ready for that defensive endeavor. Aches has actually been disrupted here. Not too worried, it's just about the gunplay now, but I think it was actually Pac-Man, able to shut him down. Love that little melee kill on Sensor. Hope he didn't know what hit him.
A little shot kill action coming through. Don't see that all that often, but it's very effective, believe me you. 30 seconds on the clock. The offense, if this clock does expire, will have a chance to still complete the payload in overtime if they can stay around it, but that has been a very dangerous prospect so far. Still contested. Aches moving their way back in, trying to track down the kills, and finally it's the Aegis that gets the job done from Crimsix. 10 seconds before we go to map 7.
Yeah, and Abel just fed himself to the scatter gun there. It's you're damned if you do and damned if you don't in that situation. Here comes Aches though, starting to fry real nice now. Gonna pop that ultra as well, but it's gonna be unnecessary. Team Aches stop Team Pac-Man in their tracks and force a 7th game.
If you were worried about the distribution of talent on these teams, you should not be, because we are going the distance. We are seeing a map 7. Team Aches able to take it away on a mode that they did not win the first time around. And I think, look, Uber, when I see these players, what has been the most impressive to me is watching their evolution of skill every map, every mode, especially when it comes to things like the factions and the abilities.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty blown away actually by Crimsix. The guy's like a vintage Mustang, you know what I mean? I'm making old jokes about a guy that's younger than me, by the way. I know it's ridiculous. The guy starts the series pretty slow, but all of a sudden he is just firing up. He's looking awesome now. Crucially, like a big part of why his score is so good, as you can probably figure out for yourselves at home, is that escort distance. So again, these Phantom operators are really important for playing around the objective. Both Crimsix and JCap at the top here. So if you do get a chance to play, and think about picking up that class if no one else has, you get a lot of value on these maps. Setting up those mag barriers, getting on to the package inside Aegis, and just spooning across the map seems to be a very powerful strategy so far.
Well, I think on top of that, you could tell that the mode with the map pairing was making a difference as well, especially for someone like Aches, because I think you were calling it out, right? You guys had that crane spot you were talking about that was used to great effect this time around. Maybe more on his team shift than what we were seeing on Team Pac-Man.
Yeah, I think so. And you talk about things like finding the small marginal adjustments that these guys are making. This is the prime example of that, where I don't know who makes the call. I don't know if it's the person who's in Aegis that says, hey, I've got this, let's go. But Slack kind of starts things off by finding these trail away kills just as the package hits the checkpoint. So you've got the ability for all 4 players to be collected on top of Carlos. You pop the BioVita, the Aegis then follows up as soon as the next engagement comes through. And I mean, we're sprinting at this point. This is moving so darn quickly from once it hit the first checkpoint to getting essentially more than halfway through the second.
And we're dealing with staggered spawns here from Team Pac-Man, going up against 4. So very, very hard. Obviously the numbers don't favor you at all as a defender trying to stop that, but then the Aegis gets popped as well on the package, and you can see for that entire time 4 players were sat on the objective. You really have to play the objective in moments like that on Meltdown, and when your enemy team's in disarray and their spawn timings are staggered, it gives you an opportunity to race ahead in terms of that progress.
And look, starting in Game 4, it's been back and forth. Team Aches, then Pac-Man strikes back, and now this is still a point where Team Aches has never seen the lead. They've managed to come back from being down 0-2. They've tied it up once again, but now it is time for Occupy on Liberty to decide this entire show match. One of these two teams will come out victorious. And I mean, Shift, look, Aches team, this is when they got on the board the first time, so is this how they close it out?
Look, I was never in question of my selection. All right, take it easy. You know, you got Zuma starting to pop things off here. No worries. I don't need you shaking my head.
Just rerun the video to the first segment.
No, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's a best of 7 series. We've got one map to figure it out. I think with the adjustments we've seen from Team Aches, they hold the advantage going into this last.
I won't lie. Team Pac-Man looked pretty gassed. Not gassed up, just gassed. I think they're definitely struggling at the moment. That was a pretty brutal showing on that last map. We want to see a lot of those individuals really come alive in a big way. I think JCat's probably going to need to take charge and show everybody what back-to-back championships looks like. But it's going to be a tough road for sure.
It's going to be a tough road, but the road ends very shortly as we get into map number 7. This is for all the marbles, for the glory at the XDefiant show match. Uber and Shift, take it away, because in just a few moments, we will learn who our champion is.
Thank you very much, Katie. Yeah, for those that love a good story at home, we couldn't have asked for anything more than this. Team Pac-Man, Team Aches going all the way. A best of 7 now comes to its conclusion. It's going to be Occupy on Liberty.
Oh, this map is so cool too. Just the looming Lady Liberty in the distance. A chance to fight for all the guts and glory of one of our first ever looks at XDefiant. And it already starts off with a couple of quick kills coming through from Aches, even popping through at the Biovita. How about an opening triple from Aches? You think he wants to win, Uber? How about just putting your team on your back real quick?
Talk about a head of steam being built up for Team Aches here. What a way to start things off. Again, you can actually play this map from pretty long range, but there are some angles on this first zone that you cannot see if you play too close to your spawn. So you really have to move up a little bit here. And I think that's why Aches just charges straight down the side there. A very nice lead early on here. Again, like 22, 26 points already going over towards Team Aches. Aches himself still delivering there. Nice trades by Zuma, eventually going to go down. Pac-Man's able to find just the one, but Crimsix now peers in onto the point. It's going to come out on top. A lot of blue in the kill feed here as Crimsix now locks it down.
Unreal to the pistol, trying to finish things off, but once more, you look at the Libertad faction, just so much healing, such a nuisance to deal with, and a chance to neutralize the time being earned on the Occupy zone. More cool looks as far as how the movement can be utilized across these maps. Little tight corridors here and there that you can slide underneath as the kills for Crimsix light up the kill feed onto the way to the second hill.
Oh, he's starting to fire up now. Doing this with a burst action weapon, by the way. Not the easiest thing. He's going to pull out the pistol and go for it. Crimsix is running absolutely wild, and he lays down the red carpet for Slack to move on in. Another zone under control of Team Aches.
Interesting here. Slack on the first Occupy was still using the Biovita. He is swapped to the El Remedio, so once more, it's a deployable that you throw out, and it's a healing gas and an aura. I think it's absolutely brilliant to use when you're in position around these Occupy zones to set up significant holds, and we're seeing that come through. It just comes down to, will we see it actually pay off if they find themselves on the break attempts, because that's where it's difficult to find value out of.
What a play by Team Aches. You have to imagine they're talking it up in the comms. Let's take a listen.
Yo, wait for me, Pat. I'm going deep right.
All right, I'm here.
All right, I'm here, there. I'm nading it. I'm nading it.
Naval dead, naval dead. One on the boat. He doesn't know
Camel on me.
you're there.
Camel on me. Camel on me. Another one coming. Mid.
Come on, push you.
There's one side. Nice, Tommy.
Mid's good. They're on one side.
Tommy, yeah, low.
A chance for Pac-Man here to use that positional advantage to get somewhere, but Zuma's going to shut them down again.
Wow. It's just, you can kind of feel it. It's never being one-sided hits. There's always multiple angles of ingress that are being threatened time and time again in these break attempts. That said, though, Team Aches not still spawning in, so re-establishment of control around the zone for Team Pac-Man. Aegis popped very early on, though, with this convincing lead, and Team Aches is looking to really throw this one out of rack really quickly.
Using classes that get stronger with teammates are close by is so huge here, right? Having teammates that can fire out from the Aegis, having teammates that can basically make Libertad, get exponentially more effective by playing close around that area of effect healing. These things are so important. How the hell does he get censored there? That is ridiculous. Slack now has that ultra available, but may not even have to use it. The pure gun skill on this man. He is breaking ankles.
This is different form here from Slack. He's absolutely looking undeniable in this title very early on, I know, but that is impressive with an M16. 31 to 100 through 3 zones of Occupy so far. This is looking like a snowball. Sonar goggles are out. That is against Team Pac-Man. It's just the snowball effect. It just keeps tumbling, bumbling, and stumbling through.
Yeah, Enable needs to find his way in here. He's going to use that Medico Suprema again. We've seen Enable use this Ultra early in quite a few occasions there. It's not enough to get him out of dodge. Pac-Man, though, comes in with a Purifier, and I tell you what, he is delivering now, finding those 2 key kills, putting his team back in a position to challenge.
Oh, and I love the fact that he's just spamming down a doorway. It's going to last for about 10 seconds if you just hold down the trigger. And that is valuable time here for Team Pac-Man. It may have actually dissuaded Aches' squad from even trying to re-break this. 8 seconds of scrap time looks good. Fully conceded by Team Aches. But now the question is, can you find a way to rotate and break on this next execution towards our new zone?
There's no doubt about it, right? Team Aches are absolutely using that extra 10 seconds or so to get in position for that next zone, and already they're going to be here. JCap has the Aegis, but no one really close enough for him to get value out of it. I mean, I can't say that. Aches just walks on in and goes, all right, here's a freebie. Eventually, JCap are able to flip the point back in their favor. Again, yeah, very interesting moment there from JCap, but able to find another kill to follow it up and getting value out of that Ultra.
It's just a great read, right? I mean, he's the first one on rotation. He gets a kill to kind of win a 1v1, and then the Aegis is just to put essentially a block into the pathway for Team Aches to work their way back through. So just like that, 119 to 78. Break attempt eventually good for Team Aches, but that's significant early time for Team Pac-Man to get right back into this game.
Man, Crimsix with an AR is just disgusting.
Yeah.
Another 3-piece for him now as he tries to push off the zone a little bit more, but Team Aches again able to extend that lead. Pac-Man pretty low on health here, but able to recover now, going to push straight in towards Zuma. And again, the duo here from Team Pac-Man able to get their team back and counting. That zone now has just shifted across another 55 seconds for that one here. And who's on site? The Team Aches are first.
Yeah, just not quite able to get the incendiary drone into a prime position, though. That all said, a chance for Team Aches to still stay alive onto the zone itself. Pac-Man squad still working on kind of getting this break over the hurdle, and it looks like finally they're able to get someone onto the zone for now, but they're not in possession of the favorable spawns. Pac-Man trying to change that. Little play around the back, has a couple lined up, and they have just blown the play wide open single-handedly.
Well, we're back to the more central zone now, right? So Pac-Man could definitely benefit from wrapping around there and trying to find a nice little flank. Zuma looking on jealously, would have loved to have pulled something off like that himself. He's going to fall down, though, as Enable's able to play that high ground pretty nicely here. Again, still need to get onto the zone because Team Aches are still finding ways to increase that lead.
Great call, popping the Biovita right as the last contestant comes through. Long range shots, yeah, there's a couple of kills back and forth, but largely speaking, that is a successful break of the scrap time for Team Pac-Man. 147, 108. Team Pac-Man have taken scrap into initial for the next zone, so this is a great moment for them to get not just back into the game, but possibly find their first lead.
Yeah, let's see what they can do with this positioning here because they're getting mowed down. Zuma's able to find 2, and Aches is going to be there. With Slack chiming in, that's going to be all of Team Pac-Man just obliterated here. Team Aches coming alive once more, man, maybe looking to try and close this out.
And just that quick route, right? Just sliding underneath the doorway, hit from the opposite angle, completely take Team Pac-Man by surprise. Pac-Man tried to do almost the exact same thing. Try to break on through. SMG in hand, not a lot of teammates with him. He's going to have to kind of do this by himself, but the incendiary rounds, they absolutely melt ya. 20 seconds left. It looks like Team Pac-Man are going to be fine to take the majority of this time.
He's got what he needs as well. He has the drone that he can lay down and cover the doorway. He has, of course, the grenade he can throw out here. So decent chance here for Team Pac-Man. Sensor now as well trying to work them down. Zuma runs straight into him here. Looks like he has eyes for that next point. And Sensor might be the first player up here, and he almost was, but Aches was waiting for the backstab, getting 2 kills. Team Aches might have a chance now, to get on first.
Yeah, a little bit of trigger discipline, I think. I mean, that's Aches in the digital ghillie suit, just kind of waiting for players to come through. It's going to force out the Purifier for Pac-Man on the break. He's got players from the side. No one was watching this side door whatsoever, and that'll be enough to turn tides once again on the zone.
Grenade, okay, Pac-Man able to step ahead of it there, but no, Aches is going to catch him. Pac is still good for 3 though. Aches now going to pop that Ultra and make sure he can handle this gunfight in the 1 versus 1. 200 HP and a dream. Aches has got it all right now. Slack's going to be able to find 3 and Crimsix chimes in. This is where things start to get dangerous for Team Pac-Man. It's been a long series and they started at such a lead, but it's starting to slip through their fingers.
Yeah, if they can get past the 200-point threshold here and a 70-point cushion, you start to feel good about your chances of just kind of cruising your way into a victory. Have to see something from Team Pac-Man as we get to the next zone. Even Enable feels like he's got to hit this scrap time, so he's not going to be with his team as they start to rotate across, but he actually finds himself behind a couple of Team Aches members looking to kind of stretch this same angle.
Yeah, that ends up actually working pretty well for Enable there. He's able to find the 1. But again, it's Team Ace that actually winning out a lot of these fights here. And you can see now, we come back off the spawn sensor. Gonna play from inside of this Aegis here, and he catches Ace just as he tries to get away. This could be a big moment here now.
Oh.
Double Aegis action. Slack not even able to find 2 kills, make it 3. Slack really doing the work here. That is going to be devastating. I don't know how you come back from that.
Slack just holds his breath in the corner, say, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. And is able to find not just the shutdown of the Aegis, but also on the remaining Team Pac-Man players. 233 to 136. It started tight, but it's looking like the finish line is within sight. Can't quite finish here, you would think, but they'll be really darn close, especially if no one can touch to contest this. And no, they may not even be able to contest this in time, Mitch.
I mean, Pac-Man was the only player that was close enough to the point that really had a chance to look in here. This could be tough. Pac-Man able to take Slack down now. He needs to make his way forward, sets the drone up, and is going to remove Ace from the equation. That's 2 kills now. Next zone is already up, though, and Ace is here already, making use of that jump time. And who can contest this? It's going to be Ace, captain and champion and winner of our show match. That's right. It's going to be 7 maps going all the way, and in the end, Team Ace are victorious.
Congratulations to Team Ace, the captain himself, the one stepping on to the final point to secure victory here and hand over his team the win at the XDefiant show match. And honestly, I gotta go back to it, Shift, because I cannot stress how fun it has been to watch players, the majority of them, 6 of these 8, who have hardly touched this game, watch that evolution in experience and understanding of XDefiant from Game 1 all the way through Game 7 and give us an amazing series of maps.
The authenticity, it really is genuine. I think you've seen it from start to finish for the players, for the 3 of us. You've even heard it in the interviews with the devs themselves. And to see the growth of how these already very talented players are able to kind of utilize the uniqueness of this title and really kind of test the limits. Yeah, it was a really fun treat and a very convincing final scoreboard here for Team Ace.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is that Team Pac-Man or Optic Gaming on the other side? Because Ace looks super nasty, and my God, really though, fires up in that last map. And again, there's a lot of the usual suspects here that make a big difference. We were talking off air about that Slacked and Crimsix combo as well. 2 guys that just really started to take the fundamentals and run away with it after the first couple of maps. Yeah, a slow start, man, but it's really about how you finish, especially in like a long series like this. It is like, again, like these guys are used to playing under these conditions, but for some of them it's been a while. You know, some have been on the watch party train, on the stream train. I mean, my boy Sensor, of course, been out there grinding every day. I see you out there. But again, really impressive to see map to map, and it actually helped us as well because we started with like bare bones fundamentals talking about XDefiant, and we're able to actually build upon those basic concepts and see them act out so these more advanced combinations as the games went along. So it was like an educational, as a viewing experience, and getting our first taste of this game that's really going to change the game, I think, as far as shooters are concerned. That was super rewarding to watch.
And look, I got to do some of those insider sessions alongside you guys, and I'm pretty sure I spent most of the time dead, but I had a lot of fun in the process. And again, I think watching that skill cap that we've seen today, incredibly impressive. And speaking of, I know we have some highlights from the entirety of the series, so let's take a look.
Yeah, I mean, look, midway, this is where we really got to see like how important it is to use these ultras on defense, right? This is the play that Ace makes, like the last bullet kill there. This allows his team to move up their sort of line of scrimmage very close to the attacker's spawn and bleeds the clock down. And I mean, this same sort of, approach for defenders, we saw it executed here as well on Meltdown.
Yeah, it's just great awareness as you would expect from Ace, obviously sitting around the game for quite a while. But yeah, I think you hit a really strong point on the head here where it's not just you have the option of we just have to shoot better. There are things that you can do as a squad with these abilities to get back into the game or to take your advantages one step further and really punish your opponents. And Ace showcased that, I think, in a multitude of ways from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the map where we saw that like rush towards the end when they had 4 players on the package. They had an Aegis, very, very hard to break them down. And then, of course, we sort of went to Liberty and we saw just how effective Team Ace were at like reading the breaks and knowing what that next point was going to come up there. They looked absolutely dominant. Ace has pulled some strings here because I've not seen anybody else's mug but his.
Might be dev privilege, I don't know.
Yeah. To be fair though, this last map, he definitely would be my MVP for this one. He looked really good over the course of the series. I mean, it shows the guy's put a year of his life into trying to make this game incredible. I think he's done a great job alongside the crew at Ubisoft. Really excited to see where they go from this. And yeah, to the winner goes the spoils. I guess bragging rights would seem to be worth a lot more in this FPS community than others, so I'm sure he's more than happy to have those. Again, the villain of FPS rises once more.
The villain, and look, you gotta give it to, I think, shout outs to Slacked and Crim as well and teammates as we look at these final results, right? It started out a little slow for them. Team Pac-Man looking so strong on the Dom and the Escort to start, but then they pick up, and especially it felt like in that Occupy and Zone Control that got Team X to even things up, Shift, Crim and Slack just came alive for the team.
Familiar ground, right? I mean, a lot of experience playing in modes that look a lot like that, and I think you start to all of a sudden say, okay, light bulb, everything starts to click now all of a sudden for us. Let's get back into stride. Because yeah, those first two, it was almost like they barely even spawned up. Just gotta say it. So the fact that they're able to get their feet back underneath them and really kind of ride the momentum throughout the rest of the more traditional game modes that they're used to, yeah, I think they absolutely played spectacularly.
I think one thing that really stuck out to me was how deep this game is, because you add that gunplay element with the positional element, with again your deployables and your activatables. There is a ton there. It's a lot to try and take in at once, but you can see these players here starting to understand how to make use of the timing that these abilities require. Not something that you sort of have to worry about in other games here. So I love that added layer of complexity that gives us some of these really cool combos.
Look, we have had so much fun today at the XDefiant showcase, but the players did as well. So let's go and see what the players had to say about today.
Yeah, so the guys really rallied back after going down 2-0. I think we kind of really got together and got hype with our wins, even our small wins. We had a few sick comebacks, and even though on that game, I think it was game 6 or game 5, when they had an awesome comeback and domination, we didn't let it get to us. We moved on to the next map, composed, and we were able to close it out.
We were just having more fun, and they started taking it a little more serious. I was trying to try different things to showcase different factions, and they just started coming back. I mean, they're all really good players, so it's not a shock. And I think overall, it was a really good series. So I'm not too upset, honestly, because that could have gone either way.
Listen, man, we've been here, we've done that. I've been a professional gamer for a long, long time. There's nothing but composure from the boys. We were down 0-2, we just had some fun with it, came back and won.
Honestly, it's really tough to lose in a game 7, especially when you don't play well in the game 7, so I'll just take the L on it, but it's kind of hard to put it into words. You know, this is my first time in my life losing to Pat, and I've almost went 30 years of living without losing to the guy, so it was one of my lifelong goals, to be honest, to make it to 30 and never lose to one of the greatest, but here we are, holding an L, and there's nothing I can do than blame myself, so I'm just disappointed, honestly.
I mean, what? We won, you know, we lost 1 map and won 4 straight, so pretty good feeling. Even better feeling when the game's fun. You know, even better when you're having fun doing that.
I think we just got too confident once we went up 2-0. Pat also started cheesing a little bit, and if you don't know what that is, he wasn't playing fair. He was playing fair, but he wasn't. He's got a lot more experience than the rest of the guys here, so I don't think we actually lost, but he turned up, they turned up, and I don't know, nothing went right for us after that.
Look, guys like to come up with every excuses in the book when they lose, so it's not anything I'm not used to, but we set the rules here, we all played by the rules, and at the end of the day, the best team won.
XDefiant was genuinely a lot of fun. I didn't really know what to expect coming out here because I didn't get to play the online playtests that we had, but genuinely so much fun. Felt a lot like some of my previous favorite FPS, a good mix of them. So I'm looking forward to the release. I don't even know what it is, but I'm so looking forward to it. I can't wait to play at home.
First time playing XDefiant, and I loved it. We had a lot of fun here. Everybody was gassing it up. The movement felt really good. I like how the game, you have to rely on your movement a lot. It's very important to make sure you're moving well around a map, right? The maps are really beautiful, a lot of color. So I enjoyed it, and it's always fun playing with your friends. So I had a good time.
Man, that was some great gameplay. You know, we know that these are some of the best shooters in the FPS genre, but watching them play XDefiant is absolutely amazingly fun. We had a great time, the players had a great time. We really saw them develop and really learn the skills and learn the game. But I have to tell you, for us back at the studio and working on this game, seeing the players play, seeing how excited they got, getting kills, winning matches. I mean, it's the reward that we all as developers aim for. It's gonna be great to see the future of this game.
I love to hear that the players had just as much fun as we did, and you know what? So can you. By watching the stream or partner channels streaming the beta, you get a chance to claim closed beta access. And if you registered previously, please do check your email because some invites have already been sent out. As always, you can register at playxdefiant.com for a chance at access, because this is the first time our game has had no NDA, so you can have a ton of fun. Look, I know that I'm hopefully gonna get to play a little bit more, but look, we're kind of at the end of the road. We're about to close this showcase out, and I just have to hand it to you, Shift and Uber, because look, sitting on the desk, it's stressful in its own way, but I was blown away by the fact that no one's ever cast this game, and you guys sit down and act like you've been doing this your whole life.
I mean, it's a great game. I think, I don't know, it's kind of a script. I just read it. When we get so involved in seeing the action, seeing these incredible players test drive this incredible title, it's very easy to get wrapped up in it. Look, I think this is a game that's really going to quote unquote change the game. I think a lot of people have been asking, hoping for something that marries up this like real high fidelity gunplay with these abilities, this team play, these positional aspects. You know, I've worked on titles in the past that have used one of these two things, but rarely both. So I don't know about you, Shift Man. It's been a pleasure, bro. I had a lot of fun. This game's going to pop off.
No, I feel the exact same way. I mean, our backgrounds are very similar, but also a little bit unique in the way that we kind of come from either more of the ability side or more of the gunplay side. And now that we've kind of matched up together on this, I think the game really does speak for itself.
And we're in Vegas, so we can go get married now as well. Like, it's perfect.
Did not see that on my bingo card for the year, but that's fine. The game is unbelievable. It really is. It's very easy to invest into, whether you're watching it live, playing it live, or just speaking about it live. It's really easy to get on board with, and I'm pumped to be here.
As am I. I couldn't have said it better. Uber, Shift, thank you so much. And a massive thank you to everyone who helped make the XDefiant Showcase happen. Ubisoft has created an incredible game. It's been our privilege to help show you how amazing it is. And of course, again, if you haven't already, make sure to go register for potential closed beta access and come have fun with all of us. So from Ubisoft, from XDefiant, from everyone here on the desk, we'll see you later.